Chapter 3:15. After leaving the teaching building, the three of them returned to the dormitory. When Yukai took out the BMW car key and pressed the button, Zhao Liang looked at the BMW 525 with its four-corner lights lit up. His eyes almost popped out. Be good. What a tycoon. Zhao Liang's gaze shifted to Yukai with great difficulty as he praised. Yukai's face was a bit proud as he said with a smile, I'm not a nouveau riche, but we are studying in Shanghai, so we should have a ride. I had a better one at home, but I thought it was too ostentatious, so I bought it during the summer vacation. How was it? This car can still be driven, right? Zhao Liang gave a thumbs up and sighed, more than that. It was simply a divine tool for picking up girls. Driving a BMW and sitting in a Mercedes-Benz, the beautiful girl was very happy. I was originally planning on buying a car worth more than 200,000 to show off. Now that I see your car, I'm embarrassed to buy a car. Yukai laughed and said, it's all right. We're all brothers, so my car is your car. If you want to pick up girls, just tell me. As long as you don't shake the car in my car, you can drive however you want and take girls for a ride. Car sex? Zhao Liang was stunned and immediately exclaimed, Yukai, I've only heard of this heaven-defying way of playing with cars, but I've never tried it before. Don't tell me you played. If you do, you'll be my boss in the future. Yukai coughed dryly and grinned, actually, I've never played it before. I usually bring girls to the hotel, so I've never tasted the feeling of being in a car. Suddenly, Yukai looked at the smiling Tan Xiu at the side and rolled his eyes, saying, eldest bro Tang must have tried it. Just look at his calm and indifferent appearance. Think about teacher Han's attitude of pursuing his husband thousands of miles away. He's definitely a veteran in this field. Big bro Tang, you're neither fat nor thin, so you should be able to pull yourself together in the car, right? Tan Xiu complained, I've never tried it before. Yukai shot a contemptuous look at Tan Xiu and snorted, this is your fault, big bro Tang. We're all brothers, there's nothing to hide. I've already called you boss. Tell me. How does it feel to have a car shake? Tan Xiu said helplessly, I really haven't tried it. A bored look appeared on Yukai's face as he waved and said, get in the car. Let's go shopping. After we finish shopping, we'll go straight to the restaurant. He got into the car. Looking at Zhao Liang who got into the front passenger seat, Tan Xiu smiled and asked, Yukai, you should be a local, right? I can tell from your parents' accent that they have a strong Shanghai accent. Yukai smiled and said, yes, I'm a local. Tan Xiu smiled and said, no wonder you seem to be very familiar with Shanghai. It turns out that you are from here. In that case, lead the way. Let's go. Yukai screamed, started the car, and drove outside. He was very proud of himself. He drove so fast that Tan Xiu couldn't help but frown. After all, this was a university. Since it was still the registration day for new students, there were many pedestrians on the road. Many people were carrying bags of various sizes. Slow down, be careful not to bump into someone. Tan Xiu kindly reminded him. Yukai rolled his eyes and grunted, don't worry. Dude, my driving skills are no joke. Back when I and a few buddies were racing in the neighboring Changxi city, you probably hadn't even gotten your driver's license yet. Tan Xiu sighed inwardly. Although he didn't approve of Yukai's frivolous behavior, he wasn't Yukai's father, so he naturally couldn't control him. Furthermore, he was well aware of the rebellious mentality of youngsters, as well as their desire to save face. Not to mention controlling him, even if he continued to persuade him, it would only cause trouble for Yukai. He was too lazy to do such a strenuous and unrewarding job. As the BMW drove out of the campus gate, Tan Xiu saw through the glass window that the row of supercars was still there on the side of the gate, with several girls surrounding those 6 or 7 youngsters. Tan Xiu pointed there and asked, do you know those youngsters, Yukai? Yukai turned his head and his expression instantly turned unsightly. After a moment of silence, he bitterly said, I know them. Of course I know them. They're just a bunch of trash that needs to be taught a lesson. Before my big bro went to prison, they were like obedient babies in front of him. But now, they're very arrogant. Sooner or later, when my big bro comes out, we'll teach them a lesson. Tan Xiu shook his head and sighed inwardly. He suddenly realized that it was a mistake to follow Yu Kai out. This guy was obviously not someone who was easy to deal with. No wonder his parents asked him to take care of him when they left. Soon, the BMW was parked in the underground parking lot of a large shopping mall a few kilometers away. After getting off the car, the trio went to the mall to buy a lot of things. In just half an hour, Yu Kai had spent tens of thousands of yuan, and even Zhao Liang had spent more than 10,000 yuan. Although Tan Xiu didn't say anything about their extravagant spending, he didn't approve of it in his heart. He didn't buy many things and only bought some toiletries. Tan Xiu, if you don't have money, just tell me. If I see something I like, I'll just buy it. We'll be roommates in the future, so don't treat each other like strangers, said Yu Kai generously. Tan Xiu said with a smile, I don't lack anything. Just buying some toiletries will do. Yu Kai didn't say much. He didn't care about money anyway. If Tan Xiu wanted to buy, he would pay. If not, he didn't bother to emphasize it. After buying things, Yu Kai said with a smile, let's go. I just called and booked a private box in Linchuan restaurant. Let's have a good drink at noon. Right, I don't know if those two guys from our dormitory have come. It'll be more lively if they come. Tan Xiu said, if they come and get along well with each other, I believe they'll rush over after seeing your note. Let's go. It was past 11 a.m. Linchuan restaurant's business was particularly booming. The first floor's hall was almost full. When the trio arrived, they found that there were still many people going upstairs. Zhao Liang, who was at Yu Kai's side, sighed and said, this restaurant is quite upscale. The cost should not be low, right? It's indeed not low. Even if I have some money in my hands, I'm afraid I can only come here to have a sumptuous meal every 3 to 5 days. This restaurant may not be comparable to the Yeyang restaurant, Taihe restaurant, or the Everlasting Feast Hall in Shanghai, but it can at least be ranked in the upper middle class. Shanghai also has an Everlasting Feast Hall. Zhao Liang was surprised. What do you mean by also? Yu Kai was surprised. Don't tell me your Jingmen Island also has an Everlasting Feast Hall. Yes, and the threshold is very high, said Zhao Liang. I've gone there with my dad a few times. Unfortunately, my dad isn't a VIP there. Otherwise, he can simply enjoy the treatment of an emperor. Yu Kai couldn't help laughing and said, I've been to Shanghai's Everlasting Feast Hall a few times. It's really good. Unfortunately, it's a bit far from here. If it weren't for our classmates coming over, we could have gone there to eat now. The Everlasting Feast Hall. A playful arc outlined on the corner of Tan Xiu's mouth, and a bit of a smile could be seen on his handsome face. He didn't expect that he would hear this name from his classmates as soon as he arrived in Shanghai. He originally planned to visit Shanghai's Everlasting Feast Hall when he had time. 10 minutes later. As the three of them sat in the private room and the dishes were served, Yu Kai's cell phone rang. Yu Kai speaking, who are you looking for? I'm Hu Qingsong, staying in room 428 of Shanghai University's male dormitory. I saw the note you left. A voice with a thick northeastern accent came out of the phone. Yu Kai raised his brows and said with a smile, we're at Lin Chuan restaurant. Take a taxi after you leave the campus and you'll be able to get here in a short while. Wait for me. The phone was hung up. Yu Kai put away his phone and said with a smile, Hu Qingsong from our dormitory has arrived. He said that he'll be here soon. Judging from his accent, he seems to be from the northeast. Come, let's open the wine first. To celebrate our meeting among the hundreds of millions of people, let's have a toast first. Zhao Yang raised his glass and said with a smile, although I'm not in the same dormitory as you, our dormitories are separated by a corridor and our doors are facing each other, so we can be considered as brothers in the trenches. Yu Kai is paying for this meal, so I won't snatch it from him. Wait until the brothers from my dormitory arrive in the evening, then we'll have a gathering with your dormitory mates. I'll treat you to dinner and karaoke. Awesome! Yu Kai praised with a smile. Tan Xiu didn't say anything. He just raised his glass and clinked it with Zhao Yang's before gulping it down. This wine is good, isn't it? Zhao Yang said with a smile. When I came here, I stole my dad's good wine and hid it in the trunk of the car. You two are in luck. I'll give you 2 bottles of better wine later, Tan Xiu said with a smile. Yu Kai stared blankly for a moment before he immediately let out a smile. In his mind, Tan Xiu was not a child from a rich family. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been so frugal in the mall. Therefore, he regarded Tan Xiu's words as Tan Xiu's trying to save face and didn't take it to heart. Half an hour later, when almost all the dishes were served, Yu Kai looked at the time and asked with a confused expression, why hasn't Hu Qingsang arrived yet? Even if he ran here, shouldn't he be here by now? Knock, knock, as his voice faded away, the private room's door was knocked. Immediately after, a dark-skinned and sturdy young man opened the door. After looking at the 3 people in the private room, he grinned and said, I'm Hu Qingsang. I'm not late, am I? Yu Kai and Zhao Yang got up one after another with strange expressions in their eyes. Tan Xiu, on the other hand, furrowed his brows with a puzzled expression in his eyes. It was because Hu Qingsang's face was covered with bruises and there were footprints on his body that hadn't been wiped clean. It was obvious that he had just fought with someone. I'm Yu Kai, brother. What are you doing here? Yu Kai waved and asked while pointing at Hu Qingsang's face. Hu Qingsang grinned and said, it's nothing. I just encountered some minor troubles on the way here, but they've all been solved. Zhao Yang stretched out his hand and smilingly said, I'm Zhao Yang from Jingmen Island. We're classmates and live in the dormitory opposite each other. I'm Tan Xiu from Star City, said Tan Xiu with a smile. Today's first chapter is here, and there are 2 more chapters in the evening. Our WeChat public account has been updated. There will be a rain of red packets on the night of the 30th of this month. Brothers and sisters who haven't followed our WeChat public account yet, you'll be heartbroken if you miss this rain of red packets. _. The Silent Night Society will update the news in the immortal world every week and interact with you in a timely manner. There will be a rain of red packets from time to time. _. Chapter 316. Hu Qingsang shook hands with them and smilingly said, we're all brothers in the future, so let's get along well since fate brought us together here. I'm from the northeast, and we're the most forthright people. I won't play games with you as long as you open your hearts to me. I know that northeasterners are forthright, Tan Xiu said with a smile. I met a friend from the northeast some time ago, and he's also a forthright man. Hu Qingsang touched the corner of his mouth and wiped off the bloodstain. Then, he smilingly said, I was worried that I wouldn't be able to play with my classmates and dormitory brothers in college. But now it seems that my worries were groundless. All of us are forthright people. Come on, let's fill our glasses first and have a toast. Who's going to treat us today? Will we have enough drinks? Yu Kai obviously liked Hu Qingsang's forthright character, so he patted his chest and said, I'll definitely have enough drinks. I'll treat you as long as you can drink. But I stole these 2 bottles from my house, so I won't have any more after I finish them. You can order whatever you want from the other good wines in this restaurant. Hu Qingsang raised his glass and praised, Brother Yu Kai, you're indeed forthright. Come on, let's have a toast first and then chat later. Ha! He gulped down a glass of wine. Yu Kai observed the bruises on Hu Qingsang's face and asked, Tell me, old Hu. What kind of trouble did you encounter on the way here? We're brothers now that we're sitting and drinking together. Whoever dares to clamor at us, I'll beat him up. It's just a trivial matter, said Hu Qingsang carelessly. It's just that when I just left the campus, I bumped into a few guys teasing a female student. I dealt with those guys while I was at it and fought with them. I alone beat the 4 of them and beat the shit out of them. But, I also got some injuries. You alone beat the 4 of them? Yukai was surprised. Of course. I was in the school sports team when I was in high school, said Hu Qingsong with a smile. I was originally going to take the college entrance exam in Beijing, but my old man insisted that I study history. You don't know this, but ever since my great-grandfather's grave couldn't be found, my old man seemed to be possessed. He thought of all kinds of methods and even consulted some archaeologists in the capital, but no one could find it. My father was afraid that after he died, his descendants wouldn't be able to find his grave, so he insisted that every generation in our family learn history and even study archaeology. Zhao Yang laughed and said, "Your old man is really ridiculous." Hu Qingsong slapped his thigh and said in agreement, "Exactly." The feng shui master said that it was because the feng shui of our ancestors changed. He even said that the earth veins would change after moving the tombs. It was all bullshit. At that time, I almost asked my old man why did he want me to go to university. He might as well let me follow a feng shui master and become a half-immortal. Pfft, ha ha ha. Yukai and Hu Qingsong burst into laughter. Although Tan Xiu was also smiling, he was pondering over the words Hu Qingsong had said, moving the tombs and changing the veins of the earth. He knew array formations, so he naturally knew what the change of the earth veins meant. The feng shui that could cause the earth veins to change due to the natural environment was either very ominous or very auspicious. Tan Xiu was silent for a moment and then asked, "Can I ask you something, Hu Qingsong?" Hu Qingsong waved and said, "Ask away if you have anything to say, Brother Tang." Tan Xiu said, "Did something big happen in your family ever since the ancestral grave of your ancestors couldn't be found? Was it a funeral or a happy event?" Hu Qingsong stared blankly for a moment. He frowned and thought for a few seconds before replying, "No, it's not a funeral. But some happy events happened in my family a few times. My big brother got a wife, and she's a great beauty. My sister-in-law also gave birth to twins. Those 2 little guys are strong, and they'll definitely be able to fight like me in the future. That's right, there's also my father who made a small fortune in his business. I originally planned to treat my classmates to a meal today, but I didn't expect that Yukai would beat me to it." Tan Xiu finally understood. It seemed that the change of the earth veins of the grave was not a bad thing, but a happy event instead. Bim. The private room's door was kicked open from the outside. More than a dozen youths in strange outfits took out steel pipes and knives from their bosoms and blocked the 4 people inside. Immediately after, several youths with black and blue noses and swollen faces came in behind a middle-aged man. "Brother Hu, it's the one with the bruises on his face." One of the youths angrily shouted. The middle-aged man glanced at Hu Qingsong and sneered, "Kid, are you the one who injured our little brothers?" Hu Qingsong looked at them, as well as the rest of the gang members who harbored malicious intentions. He suddenly slapped the table and pointed at Yukai, Tang Xiu, and the other 2, cursing, "Fuck. This big daddy thought you called those people. It turns out they were called by these wretched bastards. What's the matter? I haven't beaten the 3 of you yet. Do you want to do the same when you see others looking for trouble with me?" Yukai and Zhao Yang were stunned. Immediately, Yukai grabbed the bottle in front of him and angrily said, "What the fuck do you mean, Hu Qingsong? You just called us brothers, and now you're going to turn your back on us? Let me tell you, we'll be in the same dormitory in the future. If anyone dares to provoke you, I'll kill him." Zhao Yang's face was obviously full of fear. He leaned back toward Yukai and grabbed a bottle. Upon seeing that Hu Qingsong still wanted to speak, Tan Xiu secretly sighed inwardly. He patted his shoulder and said, "All right, stop acting. I know you deliberately said those words because you don't want to implicate us. However, since we're all classmates, we naturally have to unite against the outsiders. Aren't they just some hooligans? Just send them away. Clap, 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 the middle-aged man applauded and said, that's right. There aren't many little brothers like you who are loyal to each other these days. However, you must pay a price for being loyal to each other these days. Do you think you can walk out of this box with just the four of you? Hu Qingsong coldly snorted and said, it's not up to you to decide whether we can walk out or not. I'll definitely kill whoever fucking dares to make a move. The middle-aged man sighed and said, I originally wanted to talk to you, but I didn't expect you to be so unappreciative. Do it. Beat them to death. In an instant. More than a dozen young thugs brandished the steel pipes and knives in their hands and attacked Hu Qingsong and Tan Xiu at the outermost area. The other 5 or 6 young thugs also attacked Yu Kai and Zhao Yang. Tan Xiu sighed inwardly. He instantly grabbed Hu Qingsong's shoulder and pulled him inside, changing positions with him in an instant. With a kick, he directly kicked the young hooligan in the stomach, sending him flying and crashing into the 2 young hooligans behind him. Bam, bam, Tan Xiu conveniently grabbed a steel pipe. Every time he whipped it, a young thug's head would bleed. Most importantly, he directly flipped the dining table and smashed the 5 or 6 thugs who went to beat Yu Kai and Zhao Yang. The middle-aged man's complexion changed. He pulled out a dagger from his waist and dashed toward Tan Xiu. Scram! Tan Xiu fiercely kicked the man's chest and punched his arm. As the middle-aged man's dagger fell to the floor, Tan Xiu slapped him down. All of you, stop! The 5 or 6 young thugs crawled up from the floor and slowed down after hearing Tan Xiu's words. Tan Xiu lifted his leg to step on the middle-aged man's face and sneered, none of you can leave. You've disturbed our meal today. If you don't give us an explanation, I'll either break your legs and make you crawl out of here, or apologize to us and make up for our losses today. The 5 or 6 young thugs looked at the middle-aged man who was trampled by Tan Xiu's foot and then looked at their 7 or 8 companions who were badly beaten. For a moment, they were at a loss as to what to do. Tan Xiu glanced at Zhao Yang and said in a deep voice, go find the restaurant's management. We ate in their restaurant and got besieged by outsiders. The restaurant is also responsible for that. Okay. I'll go. Zhao Yang originally thought that he would be beaten up today and might even be hospitalized. However, Tan Xiu's display of invincible might made him ecstatic. He immediately rushed out of the private room and ran outside. 2 minutes later, Zhao Yang arrived with a middle-aged woman and 4 restaurant security guards. The middle-aged woman stared blankly as she saw the scene in the private room. She then looked at Tan Xiu and said, I just heard that some people are making trouble here. Did you hear about it? Tan Xiu sneered. Our fight just now was quite loud. Didn't your restaurant's people hear it? The middle-aged woman forced a smile and said, I'm really sorry. The private room is soundproof and you didn't go out, so we really didn't hear it. But I saw them when they came in and thought they were here to eat. Anyways, let me introduce myself. I'm the restaurant's manager, surnamed Shui. I'm not interested in your surname, said Tan Xiu. I just want to ask you something. We were having a meal in your restaurant, but a bunch of local thugs swaggered in and ganged up on us. Are you going to take responsibility? The middle-aged woman nodded and said, we'll take responsibility. Hand them over to our restaurant's security guards. I'll call the police later, and I'll have to trouble you to cooperate at that time. Also, all your expenses here today are on the house. No need for the house to be on the house. Tan Xiu shook his head. After saying that, he lifted his leg and kicked the middle-aged man to the side. He coldly looked at him as he crawled up and lightly said, you've affected our meal, so you'll pay for it. I'll buy it. The middle-aged man had just been beaten miserably. He could still feel the severe pain in his chest, and even his breathing was a bit rough. He didn't expect that not only the dark-skinned guy was very powerful, but this guy in front of him was even more powerful. He had already cursed his underlings inwardly, but he didn't dare to show it in front of Tan Xiu and the others. It's the end of the month. I'm crying for the monthly votes. I still need more than 100 votes to break through 10,000 votes. Brothers and sisters, please write down this achievement _. Chapter 317. Alright. Tan Xiu said. There's no need to call the police. If they dare to trouble us again, I'll clean them up. Arrange a private room for us and arrange a table of food and wine. Let them pay for it together. All right. The middle-aged woman didn't expect that Tan Xiu would be so easy to talk to and immediately gave him a grateful look. It must be noted that if this matter were to be reported to the police, it would have a certain impact on their restaurant's reputation. She just said that she would call the police because she wanted to give an explanation to Tan Xiu and the others. Furthermore, she was ready to call Tan Xiu to go out and have a private talk to see if this matter could be resolved. After a while, the middle-aged man left with his badly beaten men, while Tan Xiu and the others also moved to another spacious and bright private room. Just as they took their seats, Zhao Yang gave a thumbs up and excitedly exclaimed, "You're so cool, big bro Tang. I was so focused on blocking them that I didn't notice how you beat them down." Yu Kai also looked excited as he rubbed his arm that was hit by the steel pipe and said, "Yeah. I was so focused on fighting with my opponent that I didn't even see your movements clearly." "How did you do it, big bro Tang? Don't tell me you're a martial arts master like in wuxia novels." "I'm not a martial arts expert." Tan Xiu shook his head and smilingly said, "I just practiced some flowery but impractical moves. If I were to fight with a real expert, I'm definitely not their match. But it's not a problem for me to beat up a few gangsters. They wanted to hit us, so we can fight back. Anything can be used, such as smashing plates and plates. Naturally, we can make them bleed." Hu Qingsong looked a bit touched as he patted Tan Xiu's shoulder and said, "Since they call you Big Bro Tang, then I'll also call you that. I can't thank you enough for your kindness today. I, Hu Qingsong, will always remember this in my heart. If any of you need something in the future, don't hesitate to look for me. I'll definitely do whatever I can for my brothers. It's just a trivial matter." "Don't worry about it," said Tan Xiu with a smile. Hu Qingsong shook his head and said, "If it weren't for you today, I'm afraid I would have been out of luck. It's my fault for being careless. I didn't think that the little bastard who was beaten up would secretly follow me all the way here. Come, I won't say too many words of thanks. Although the dishes haven't arrived yet, let's open these 2 bottles of wine first. The words of thanks are all in the wine. Come." Ha! Yu Kai and Zhao Yang also stood up. After an unexpected fight and a crisis that they went through together, the relationship between the 4 of them became much closer. Moreover, when young people were together, there were endless topics to talk about. After the meal, the 4 of them had their arms around each other's shoulders as they left the restaurant drunk. Hu Qingsong's alcohol tolerance was very high. He himself had drunk more than a caddy, but he was even more sober than Yu Kai and Zhao Yang. Hu Qingsong looked at Yu Kai and Zhao Yang, who were swaying as they walked, as he looked at Tan Xiu and asked, "Where are we going, eldest bro Tang?" Tan Xiu said, "Let's go back to school. Send them directly to their dorms to sleep. That's the only way." Hu Qingsong nodded. "I didn't expect Yu Kai's alcohol tolerance to be so good. On the contrary, Zhao Yang's alcohol tolerance is average. He only drank less than half a caddy, yet he became like this. It's said that you Northeasterners can drink a lot." Tan Xiu laughed. "I've seen it for myself today. Don't flatter me, eldest bro Tang." Hu Qingsong forced a smile. "Although I think I can drink a lot more than a caddy of wine, I'm far worse than you. When we were drinking, I noticed that you drank a lot more than me, but you acted as if nothing had happened. I suspect that you won't get drunk even if you drink more than a caddy." Tan Xiu couldn't help laughing and said, "If you really drink more than a caddy, I'm afraid you won't have to support 2 people, but 3. Hu Qingsong laughed aloud, "I'll compete with you when we're free." Tan Xiu shook his head and took out the car key from Yu Kai's pocket. After opening the car door, he stuffed the two of them into the back seat and then sat on the front seat. What are you still staring blankly for? Get in the car. Hu Qingsong sat on the front seat with a surprised look and exclaimed, Is this your car? It's Yu Kai's. Tan Xiu said. He's a rich second generation. Hu Qingsong exclaimed, It seems that we brothers will be successful in picking up girls in the future. It's a BMW. Damn, a student driving a BMW. TSK, tisk. Tan Xiu smiled and started the car to leave quickly. After sending the two back to their dorm, the last classmate of Tan Xiu's dorm had yet to arrive. However, the other three students from the opposite dorm had already arrived. Tan Xiu greeted the three students and briefly introduced himself before returning to his dorm. What's your plan this afternoon, Brother Tang? Asked Hu Qingsong curiously. I'm going out for a stroll. Tan Xiu said with a smile, It's my first time coming to Shanghai, so I haven't had a good time to play. When school reopens, there won't be much time for me to go out for a walk. Big Bro Tang, I heard that you're the top student in the science subjects in Shuangqing province, a top student. Hu Qingsong said with a smile, It seems that you're going to take advantage of the time before the military training to stroll around Shanghai and then stay in school to study, right? If there's no accident, that should be the case, said Tan Xiu. I'll also go out with you, said Hu Qingsong. I have nothing to do in the afternoon anyway, said Hu Qingsong. Tan Xiu was silent for a moment and slowly said, Yu Kai said that he's going to have a gathering with Zhao Yang's roommates tonight. I'm afraid I can't attend it tonight since I have something to do. I'm afraid you won't have time to attend their gathering if you go with me. Hu Qingsong hesitated for a moment and said, Fine, I won't attend. There's still a lot of time in the future anyway, so we can drink together some other day. Let's go out for a stroll first. Big Bro Tang, you don't know. Ever since I stepped on the train to Shanghai, I've felt like a bird flying in the vast sky and a fish swimming in the vast sea. I don't need to be controlled by my old man anymore. Tan Xiu looked at him and calmly said, Having someone to control you is much better than having nobody to control you. Just be content. Hu Qingsong stared blankly and looked at Tan Xiu with a strange expression. He suddenly pointed to the car key on Yu Kai's table and asked, Aren't we going to drive? The car is Yu Kai's. Tan Xiu shook his head. If he wakes up in the afternoon, he might need to use the car to go out to the party tonight. Let's take a taxi. Okay. Hu Qingsong nodded. For the whole afternoon, Tan Xiu and Hu Qingsong strolled around. The two went to the Bund, watched the Huangpu River, and went to the Oriental Pearl Tower. They drank coffee on Nanjing Road and then went to the city god temple to burn incense. Afterward, they went to the Yu Garden and the Science and Technology Museum. It wasn't until the evening that Tan Xiu received a call from Han Qingwu. Where are you, Tan Xiu? Han Qingwu's voice was particularly cheerful from the phone. I'm with a roommate at the entrance of the Science and Technology Museum, said Tan Xiu with a smile. We strolled around Shanghai in the afternoon, but we didn't expect that we would be at this time. The Science and Technology Museum? Asked Han Qingwu. I know where it is. Are you waiting for me there? Or do you want to meet somewhere else? Let's have dinner together tonight. Go directly to the Everlasting Feast Hall in Shanghai, said Tan Xiu. We'll take a taxi there and finish our dinner there. All right. Replied Han Qingwu. Tan Xiu put away his phone and looked at Hu Qingsong, saying, Teacher Han will have dinner with us tonight. I've already chosen the place, so let's go there directly. Who's Teacher Han? Asked Hu Qingsong, confused. She's our teacher in charge, Han Qingwu, answered Tan Xiu. Hu Qingsong was dumbfounded. He looked at Tan Xiu with an incredulous expression and exclaimed, Teacher Han Qingwu wants to have dinner with us. You're not joking, right? What's there to joke about? Tan Xiu said with a smile. Isn't it just having dinner together? Is there a need to make such a fuss? Hu Qingsong said, Isn't this something worth making a fuss about? It's our first day at the university. I didn't expect that you would act so fast, and your target is actually Teacher Han. She's a great beauty. My eyes almost popped out when I saw her for the first time. Han Qinggu is actually my teacher in charge in high school. Tan Xiu couldn't help laughing. I didn't expect that she would suddenly be transferred to Shanghai University to teach, and she's even our teacher in charge. So, we're just having dinner together. I finally understand why Yu Kai and Zhao Yang address you as Big Bro Tang, said Hu Qingsong incredulously. You're really awesome in picking up girls. I never thought that you would actually capture the heart of the Belle Han when we were in high school. You're really amazing, Big Bro Tang. Get lost. Tan Xiu cursed with a smile. At the Everlasting Feast Hall in Shanghai. In front of the 5-story antique octagonal restaurant was a large parking lot with a very good environment. At the entrance of the Everlasting Feast Hall, there were 4 stalwart men standing guard. In front of the 4 burly men, there were 6 receptionists in Cheongsam, and they warmly greeted every guest that came. Inside the restaurant. The unique environment on the first floor was separated into areas by screens and carved wood, with dining tables placed in each area. Water columns sprayed from the water troughs on both sides, creating a beautiful scene under the illumination of 7 colored lights. The Everlasting Feast Hall in Shanghai was also managed by Tianli. However, Tianli needed to travel between Jingmen Island, Hong Kong, Shanghai, and the imperial capital. Hence, there were deputy managers in charge of Shanghai and the imperial capital. The deputy manager in charge of Shanghai was Qi Nan, a core member of the Everlasting Feast Hall. At this moment, Qi Nan just came back from outside and looked at the bustling scene in the restaurant. She felt quite helpless inside. She was very envious of her companions who stayed in Jingmen Island, because they could cultivate with peace of mind and could occasionally go abroad to carry out missions. Chief Qi, the VIP lounge on the 4th floor has been opened. Miao Wentong from Haiqing is dining here with a few friends. I've ordered all the good wine and dishes to be delivered, said the lobby manager respectfully. VIP? Miao Wentong. Qi Nan was silent for a moment. She then nodded and said, I see. I'll go and give a toast later. All right. I drank too much today and only remembered that I have to update the 3rd chapter. I don't know what I should ask for. Everyone, please give me whatever you have. Good night, brothers and sisters. I love you. Chapter 318. As Qi Nan left the lobby on the 1st floor, Tan Xiu and Hu Qingsong appeared at the entrance of the Everlasting Feast Hall. Hu Qingsong's badly battered face made the 4 security guards of the Everlasting Feast Hall stare at him. Welcome, how many? A waitress came up and asked with a smile that could bathe people in the spring breeze. Tan Xiu's gaze slowly swept across the interior and he nodded in his heart. The environment here was not bad, and the decoration style was very luxurious. It seemed to be 2 levels higher than the Lin Chuan restaurant that they went to in the afternoon. 3 of you. The waitress smiled and said, the rooms upstairs are almost full. Can the 3 of you sit on the 1st floor? Tan Xiu said, no problem. Very soon. Under the guidance of the waitress, the 2 of them came to the quiet dining table in the inner side. Although there were already many guests eating in the surrounding partitions, no one was making a racket here. Faint laughter could be heard as they toasted each other. Sirs, would you like to order now? There's no need to order, just give us some of your restaurant's specialties. For meat dishes, 2 vegetables, and a soup will do, Tan Xiu said. The waitress smiled and said, may I ask if there's any food you don't eat? No. Tan Xiu said. The waitress slightly bowed and said, all right. Please wait a moment. As the waitress left, Hu Qingsong gave a thumbs up to Tan Xiu and praised, Big Bro Tang is really generous. This restaurant's grade is so high, yet you didn't even look at the menu and directly ordered the specialty dishes. Looks like you've put in a lot of effort to win over Teacher Han. Tan Xiu laughed involuntarily and said, Who said I'm going all out? We're all poor students, so shouldn't Teacher Han be the one paying the bill? What? Hu Qingsong was stunned and said incredulously, how can we let a woman treat us to dinner? Even though she is a teacher and we are students, we are only a few years apart. Big Bro Tang, if you don't have enough money, today's meal is on me. Male chauvinism. Tan Xiu smiled bitterly in his heart. What made him most speechless was that did he look like he was short of money? Yu Kai thought that he was poor, and so did Hu Qingsong. However, he didn't like to be too high profile, and he didn't like to show off his wealth. Therefore, he didn't bother to explain Hu Qingsong's misunderstanding. Instead, he smilingly said, I'm just joking with you. How can I let Teacher Han pay for this meal? You don't have to pay, just eat and drink to your heart's content. Alright. In any case, if you don't have the money, just let me know, Hu Qingsong said straightforwardly and then dropped the subject. In the past few years, his family had become a lot wealthier than before, but it was his first time coming to such a high-class restaurant. Therefore, he didn't explode with his loud voice, and his boorish personality was restrained a lot. The VIP lounge on the 4th floor. Miao Wentong was drinking with a few friends from the business world. Big bosses of their statuses did not boast like ordinary men in the marketplace. Instead, they maintained their demeanor and talked cheerfully about business matters. Bang bang, a knock on the door interrupted the conversation of the 4 people inside. Then, the door was pushed open. Chi Nan came in with a bright smile on her face and 2 bottles of good wine in her hands. I hope I'm not disturbing you, said Chi Nan with a smile. Upon seeing Chi Nan's arrival, the few local businessmen in Shanghai immediately exchanged dismayed glances with surprised expressions. You are? Asked Miao Wentong with a surprised expression. I'm Chi Nan, the deputy manager of the Everlasting Feast Hall's Shanghai branch. According to the rules of our Everlasting Feast Hall, the person in charge of the restaurant must come and toast every distinguished guest who comes to dine. And Boss Miao, you're our distinguished guest among distinguished guests. Miao Wentong knew about the toast. But, Miao Wentong got up and shook hands with Chi Nan. Then, he asked with a puzzled expression, Chief Chi, distinguished guest among distinguished guests. What does that mean? I only know that the Everlasting Feast Hall has distinguished guests, but I don't understand what distinguished guests among distinguished guests are. The headquarters in Jingmen Island just sent a message that you and Boss Xiao Mingzhen are distinguished guests among distinguished guests of our Everlasting Feast Hall. It's because you're a friend of our boss. Miao Wentong asked in surprise, your boss? Gu Xiaoxue. The new boss of our Everlasting Feast Hall is called Tan Xiu. Chi Nan shook her head and smiled. Tan Xiu. Miao Wentong's tone was raised as disbelief burst out from his eyes. Miao Wentong was perfectly aware of what kind of existence the Everlasting Feast Hall was. He was also unaware of Gu Xiaoxue's strength. Yet, Tan Xiu had indeed broken through the 1,000 revolution array of the Everlasting Feast Hall. But how did he inexplicably become the Everlasting Feast Hall's boss? Suddenly, Miao Wentong found that his understanding of Tan Xiu was unexpectedly pitiful. However, at this moment, he finally understood why he inexplicably became the distinguished guest among the distinguished guests of the Everlasting Feast Hall. Chi Nan opened a bottle of wine and filled the cups for them. Then, she said with a smile, Boss Miao and other bosses, I'd like to toast you 3 cups. I hope you'll enjoy your meal and drink well in our Everlasting Feast Hall. All right. Come. After drinking the 3 cups of wine, Miao Wentong forced a smile and said, I really didn't expect that Brother Tang would become the Everlasting Feast Hall's boss. I already knew that he's very powerful and mysterious before. But now, it seems that I've underestimated him. I don't even dare to imagine what kind of high achievements he will achieve in the future. Our boss is naturally a dragon among men, said Chi Nan with a smile. It's only a matter of course for him to have high achievements in the future. Zhang Yueming was the boss of Shanghai's New Sun Group with a net worth of tens of billions of yuan. He was also the vice president of Shanghai's Chamber of Commerce and had a very high status in Shanghai. With a surprised look on his face, he asked, "Chief Qi, we've been living in Shanghai for a long time, so we don't know much about your Everlasting Feast Hall. Can you tell me about the situation regarding the Everlasting Feast Hall's VIP guests?" "Boss Miao will tell you about this," Qi Nan said with a smile. "I still have other things to do, so I won't disturb your meal. Goodbye." After that, Qi Nan turned around and left with a smile. Zhang Yueming then looked at Miao Wentang and asked, "Old Miao, tell us about it. You only know that I'm a businessman, but you don't know that I'm a martial artist, right?" The Everlasting Feast Hall's headquarters is in Jingmen Island. Although they usually keep a low profile, the Everlasting Feast Hall's heritage is deep and unfathomable. Their headquarters manor has an array called the Thousand Revolution Array. This array. A few minutes later. The other three understood the whole story from Miao Wentang's explanation. They were surprised and had a strong interest in this mystical Everlasting Feast Hall. Looking at the trio's expression, Miao Wentang said with a smile, "You only need to know about this matter, but don't spread it out. Although it's not a secret, it's very easy to lose one's life if it attracts a lot of people who know some half-assed martial arts to break the array." "Don't worry, we understand," said Zhang Yueming. "But this Everlasting Feast Hall's boss, Tan Xiu, who is he? From your conversation with Chief Qi, your relationship with Tan Xiu is not ordinary." Miao Wentang's expression turned serious. After a moment of silence, he seriously said, "Everyone, Tan Xiu is indeed my friend. We got to know each other in Jingmen Island and went through a few things later, forming a very good friendship. In other words, he once saved my life. We've known each other for more than 20 years, so I'll tell you something from the bottom of my heart." "Speak," said Zhang Yueming. "Tan Xiu is very powerful. As for how powerful he is, even I'm a bit afraid of him. He's also very mysterious. Every time I come into contact with him, he always gives me a big shock. As far as I know, he'll be studying at Shanghai University this year and should be here by now. I hope you local bullies don't provoke him, else I'm afraid you'll end up miserable." Zhang Yueming stared blankly and couldn't help laughing. "Old Miao, are you kidding me? The Tang Xiu you're talking about is just a freshman." Gu Changmin, the Dingshan Media's boss, also laughed and said, "Yeah. Old Miao, are you kidding me? Even if he's a high school student, how powerful can he be? I'm afraid the elders in his family are very powerful, no?" Miao Wentang looked at the duo, who were at a loss whether to laugh or cry. They didn't believe him at all. His brows slightly furrowed, however, when he looked at his other old friend, Jindao Real Estate's boss, Jin Xinkue. Because Jin Xinkue was frowning with a thoughtful look on his face. Suddenly, "Brother Miao, since you and Mr. Tang are friends, can you introduce us if there's an opportunity? Don't worry, I won't make you work for nothing. Come to my place and I'll give you the pair of jade qilins. I've long been drooling over your jade qilins, but I can't exchange it for a reward." Miao Wentang waved and said, "We've been friends for many years, so I'll introduce you if there's an opportunity in the future." "Thank you," said Jin Xinkue with all seriousness. Zhang Yueming stared blankly, whereas Gu Changmin looked puzzled and asked, "Brother Jin, don't ask me, I don't dare to tell you." Jin Xinkue forced a smile. "But don't doubt Brother Miao's words. If one day you, or someone in your family provokes Tan Xiu, I'm afraid you'll end up miserable." Zhang Yueming and Gu Changmin glanced at each other and looked shocked at the same time. They might not believe it if it was only Miao Wentang who said it. But with Jin Xinkue, they had no choice but to believe it. So to say, "That young man is very terrifying." The duo was silent for a moment before they nodded, indicating that they would pay attention to it in the future. Miao Wentang was very curious about how Jin Xinkue knew about Tan Xiu. He secretly made up his mind to find an opportunity to ask Jin Xinkue about it after the dinner was over. After all, it was related to Tang Xiu, and he really wanted to know more about it. "Come on, let's drink." Miao Wentong suppressed the thought at the bottom of his heart and raised his glass with a smile. It's the end of the month. Weekly asking for monthly votes _. Chapter 319. On the first floor of the everlasting feast hall, Tan Xiu and Hu Qingsong had yet to enjoy their meal when Han Qingwu arrived with her handbag. She dressed up beautifully tonight, wearing a floral dress, high-heeled shoes, and light makeup on her face. I didn't expect that you even ordered the dishes. Han Qingwu said with a smile and then directly sat next to Tan Xiu. We just arrived not long ago, so we ordered the dishes first since you should be here soon, said Tan Xiu. Teacher Han, you haven't told me how you suddenly came to work at Shanghai University. My dad has been transferred to Shanghai for 2 months, said Han Qingwu with a smile. My family moved to Shanghai, so I followed him to Shanghai. Staying in Star City by myself was boring, so I asked my dad to pull some connections. Plus, I'm very outstanding, and I also taught you, the top scorer of the college entrance test, so I smoothly went to Shanghai University. Speaking of which, it's all thanks to you that I can smoothly get a job at Shanghai University. Tan Xiu didn't utter a word. He was perfectly aware that Han Qingwu was just joking. The fact that she could get a job at Shanghai University meant that she was really outstanding, and the other was that her family must have used a lot of connections. Hu Qingsong, on the other hand, looked a bit envious as he said, eldest bro Tang is really lucky to be able to continue to follow his former teacher in charge after going to Shanghai University. I think it won't be long before everyone in our class knows about this wonderful thing. As long as you don't let your imagination run wild and don't talk nonsense, said Tan Xiu snappily. That's right, said Han Qingwu with a smile. Tan Xiu and I have a pure teacher-student relationship, and anyone who talks nonsense is really filthy. Besides, I'm much older than you. You can't say that, Teacher Han, said Hu Qingsong with a chuckle. Your relationship is too special, so it's normal for others to have wild imaginations. Also, a woman is 3 years older than herself. You look almost the same age as us, but your real age is probably only a few years older than us, no? You're the perfect wife. You don't know, but I heard that Yu Kai threatened to pursue you when he saw you. Pfft, Han Qingwu couldn't help laughing and said with a smile, you bunch of kids, honestly studying in school is the right thing to do. What nonsense are you imagining in your head? Hu Qingsong said with a deadpan expression, Teacher Han, stepping into the university is equivalent to stepping into society. Haven't you heard of it? University was a microcosm of society. Here, one would experience a new beginning of life, and also an ending point. It seems that even university students can get married, right? Han Qingwu laughed and said, you don't have a career and rely on your parents' money to support your wife? Ugh. Hu Qingsong's face froze, and he didn't say another word. Tan Xiu smiled and said, all right, let's not talk about this topic. Let's eat and talk while eating. 10 minutes later. Halfway through the dinner, Han Qingwu seemed to be a little tired. She put down her chopsticks and rubbed her shoulders, saying, I used to think that being a university teacher was very easy. There were very few courses every week, and most of the time was free to arrange. But ever since I took office, I've discovered that this is not the case at all. Preparing for university courses is much more difficult than teaching high school students. Moreover, I've been busy looking for a house recently, and I've been wandering around Shanghai every day. It's really tiring. You still don't know. I've been in Shanghai for more than a month, and today is the first time I've eaten in such a high-end restaurant. Looking for a house. Tan Xiu was surprised and said, didn't your family also come to Shanghai? The place they live can't accommodate you. Han Qingwu shook her head and said, I'm already so old. I really don't want to live with my parents anymore. Upon hearing this, Tan Xiu nodded and said, have you found a house yet? Han Qingwu smiled bitterly and said, it's not that easy. The housing prices in Shanghai are too high. Renting an ordinary house with 1 bedroom and 1 living room costs several thousand a month. It can be cheaper if I go to a remote place, but it's too far from Shanghai University, and it's inconvenient for me to go to work. Also, I have to pay for utilities, gas, telephone, and so on every month. All these miscellaneous expenses add up, and I won't have much money left for this month's work. Tan Xiu was surprised and said, the salary of a university teacher shouldn't be low, right? Han Qinggu smiled bitterly and said, what do you mean it's not low? It's only a little more than 10,000 a month. I'm afraid you won't be able to survive here without 5,000 or 6,000 a month. Tan Xiu thought about it and realized that it was indeed the case. The rent alone was several thousand, and adding all kinds of miscellaneous expenses, it would indeed cost a lot of money. Then, the girls would have to buy some clothes and the like. More than 10,000 yuan was really not much left. He recalled that he still had several properties in Shanghai. Excluding the villa in the Blue Star Villa complex, there was another property that was not too far from Shanghai University. It was only about 20 kilometers away. Tan Xiu pondered for a moment and said, Miss Han, do you want me to help you? It just so happens that I have a friend who just bought a house in Shanghai. But because he's going abroad, he has to leave the house before living in it. He can't sell it for a while, and he wants to wait for the price to appreciate before selling it. So, do you want to live there first? Han Qinggu stared blankly and quickly asked, is it close to Shanghai University? How about the rent? It seems to be more than 20 kilometers away from Shanghai University, said Tan Xiu. It's not too far in such a big city. The rent doesn't matter. I have a good relationship with that guy, so I can just give him some money. Han Qinggu tentatively asked, it's not too far. But the rent. Is 3,000 yuan a month okay? I really can't afford it anymore. No problem, Tan Xiu said with a smile. He actually wants to find someone to look at the house for him, and the rent is fine. So, if you really decide, I'll go to him tomorrow to get the key. I can take you there tomorrow afternoon. If you're satisfied, you can live there later. Han Qinggu clapped and happily said, you're really my lucky star, Tan Xiu. That's right, how about the house? How big is it? How many rooms and living rooms? I don't know the specifics, said Tan Xiu with a smile. Let's go there tomorrow. All right. Han Qinggu happily said. The business of Shanghai's everlasting feast hall was booming. After staying in the office for a while, Qi Nan couldn't sit still. She was a restless woman, and staying in Shanghai's everlasting feast hall was already uncomfortable. Staying in the office would definitely be a torture for her. She wandered upstairs twice and then came to the first floor. She wandered in front of the bar and looked at the busy staff. Feeling bored, she grabbed her mobile phone and dialed her boss's number. Big sis Lily, are you busy? No. Tian Li's voice came out of the phone. Leaning on the bar counter, Qi Nan yawned and said, Big sis Lily, why don't you come to Shanghai to work if you're not busy? I'm dying of boredom here. I'll send someone to replace you if you don't want to stay in Shanghai, said Tian Li. Whether it's the HQ in Jingmen Island, Hong Kong, or the imperial capital, several people in charge have contacted me in private, hoping to be transferred to Shanghai to work. Qi Nan stared blankly and asked with a puzzled expression, transfer to Shanghai to work? Are they sick? I've been squatting in Shanghai for 3 years, and my bones are getting rusty. If I go on like this, I dare say I'll soon suffer from depression. A bit of a smile was revealed in Tian Li's tone as she said, all right, it's a deal then. I'll transfer you back in a few days. As for the big opportunity in Shanghai, leave it to others. Wait. Big sis Lily, what do you mean by the big opportunity in Shanghai? Asked Qi Nan quickly. It's nothing, said Tian Li with a smile. It's just that boss has gone to Shanghai to study at the university, so he should be visiting our everlasting feast hall soon. The 4 of us have obtained the opportunity, and our strength has greatly increased. I originally thought that if you can serve boss well, you might also get that opportunity. But you insisted on transferring back, so I can only leave this opportunity to others. That's right. I'm really a pig brain. No. My dear big sis Lily, please don't transfer me back. Although I'm about to go crazy from boredom here, I still insist on maintaining it. I can do it, no problem. I will definitely take care of the restaurants here in Shanghai in an orderly manner. By the way, I saw a new Hermes bag a few days ago. I think it's very suitable for you. I'll buy it and send it to you when I have time, said Chi Nan with an obsequious smile. I like Hermes bags the most, said Tianli with a smile. I'll definitely buy it. You, Chi Nan quickly said. But before she could finish her words, she abruptly stopped. Her eyes paused on the two men and a woman who came not far away, and finally locked on the handsome young man. In a flash, Chi Nan raised her arm, rubbed her eyes and murmured, "Big sis Lily, I want to see boss." Tianli quickly asked, "What did you say?" "Boss went to the restaurant." "I'm not sure yet," said Chi Nan quickly. "I'll hang up first. I'll contact you later." After that, she quickly hung up the phone and opened the photo album on her mobile. After looking at the photo, she immediately confirmed that the young man was the boss. In the aisle, Han Qinggu said with a smile, "You two must not fight with me. I'll pay the bill today. If you want to treat me later, we can eat at the school cafeteria." Hu Qingsong shook his head and said, "What you said is wrong, Teacher Han. We may be poor students, but we can still treat our teacher to a meal. Besides, we're men. How can we let a lady pay for a meal?" "Don't be a male chauvinist," said Han Qinggu with a smile. "It's not a problem for me to treat you to a meal. If you want to show off, wait until you have a job and earn money. You can choose a place to treat us." "Alright, cut it out," Tan Xiu said with a smile. "I'm the one who picked the place, so naturally, I'm the one who will pay. I may be poor, but it's not a problem for me to treat you to a meal." "Hello, boss." A burst of fragrant wind blew as Chi Nan came with a bright smile. "Dear friends, what kind of novel do you want to read? Please leave a message in the book review section. Quiet Night will fulfill everyone's wish on the WeChat public account _. Chapter 320. Tan Xiu slightly furrowed his brows. He didn't expect that someone from Shanghai's Everlasting Feast Hall would recognize him. Although he knew that the Everlasting Feast Hall's HQ in Jingmen Island should have sent his photo to the Everlasting Feast Hall's core members, wasn't this too much of a coincidence? Han Qinggu looked at Tan Xiu and then at Chi Nan. With a confused look on her beautiful face, she asked, "What did you call Tan Xiu? Boss?" Hu Qingsong grinned and said, "Teacher Han, a lot of hotel attendants will address their guests as boss. I've often encountered this situation before. Beauty, we're both students, not bosses." Chi Nan stared blankly for a moment. She was a slick and exceptionally intelligent person. The moment Tan Xiu furrowed his brows, she knew that she was being rude. It seemed like the boss didn't want the two around him to know his identity. She reacted quickly and immediately said with a smile, "Every guest who comes to our Everlasting Feast Hall is our boss in our eyes. Actually, I stopped you because I want to tell you something. We have a rule here. If the daily flow of customers reaches 200 tables, the customer at the 200th and first table will get a 10% discount on their purchases here. Congratulations, you're the 201st table's guest who will be paying today." "There's such a rule?" Hu Qingsong was surprised. "Yes." Chi Nan inadvertently glanced at Tan Xiu and found that Tan Xiu's furrowed brows stretched out, so she immediately replied with a smile. Tan Xiu took out his wallet, took out a bank card, and handed it to Chi Nan. Then, he said with a smile, "It seems our luck is good. Swipe this card to pay the bill." "All right. Please wait a moment." Chi Nan took the bank card and turned toward the bar counter. "Big Bro Tang, I found myself especially lucky to be with you. We can even get a 10% discount when we dine in this high-class restaurant. We can run to the everlasting feast hall's entrance if we can't afford to eat. We'll carefully count and wait for the 200th table's guest to pay the bill and leave. Tan Xiu laughed involuntarily and said, "Don't you have nothing better to do? I reckon that even if the food here is discounted, it's still much more expensive than buying 2 sesame seed cakes and a bag of pickled vegetables outside." Hu Qingsong chuckled. That's true. Han Qinggu withdrew her strange gaze from Qinan's back and looked at Tan Xiu's calm face. She suddenly remembered what her good sister had told her. Could it be, Tan Xiu's identity is really not simple? However, he knew about his family background. Especially in the past year or so, she had investigated for a long time and even knew that Tan Xiu's family life was very poor. Therefore, she and her colleagues would secretly go to the small restaurant owned by Tan Xiu's family to eat. She deliberately ordered a lot of dishes as a way to help their family's business. But the woman just now was obviously not like what Hu Qingsong had described, and that woman did not seem to be a waiter in this restaurant. Han Qinggu couldn't figure it out no matter how she thought about it. She shook her head and simply stopped thinking about it. Tan Xiu was clueless about Han Qinggu's thoughts. He looked at Qi Nan, who had just entered the bar counter, and said, "Teacher Han, please wait for me with Hu Qingsong. I'll go sign it." "I'll go with you." Han Qinggu quickly said. "No need. I'm just going to sign it and then we'll leave together later," Tan Xiu said with a smile. Han Qinggu hesitated for a moment before she nodded and said, "All right then." Tan Xiu went to the bar counter and entered the password under Qi Nan's instruction, and then signed the contract. Then, he calmly said, "Are you the manager here?" "Yes." Qi Nan replied softly. "They are my classmates and teachers. We came out for a gathering tonight," said Tan Xiu. "Fortunately, you reacted fast, else my identity would have been exposed. You did a good job." Upon hearing Tan Xiu's words, Qi Nan's heart suddenly filled with joy. She quickly glanced at Han Qinggu and Hu Qingsong and slightly moved her body. While Tan Xiu blocked her, she said, "Boss, do you have any instructions?" "No, I don't," said Tan Xiu. "Just do what you need to do." "I understand," said Qi Nan. "But your friend is dining in the VIP lounge on the 4th floor." "Friend? Who?" asked Tan Xiu in surprise. "Miao Wentong," said Qi Nan. Tan Xiu pondered for a moment and then asked in a low voice, "Is he by himself? Or did he come here with his friend?" "He came here with his friend," said Qi Nan. "There's some high-ranking bosses in Shanghai." Tan Xiu said, "Well, I'll send my classmates and teachers away first. If Miao Wentong finishes his meal early, tell him to wait for me here for a while. If he doesn't finish his meal early, I'll go see him. It just so happens that I have something to talk to him about." "Do you need me to go and greet him in advance?" asked Qi Nan. "No need," said Tan Xiu. Immediately, Tan Xiu put the bank card back in his pocket and then turned back to Han Qinggu and Hu Qingsong. He said with a smile, "This meal is very affordable. Let's go." His phone just reminded him that Qi Nan had only swiped 1 yuan from his card. After a while, when the 3 of them came outside the restaurant, Han Qinggu said with a smile, "I drove here, so I can send you back to school. By the way, you should have just arrived in Shanghai today, right? Have you seen the night view of the Huangpu River?" "No, I haven't." Hu Qingsong shook his head. Han Qinggu said with a smile, "We're on the way, so I'll take you to have a look." "Teacher Han, I've seen it last night," said Tan Xiu. "I won't go today. Also, I have an elder in Shanghai, and I've agreed to stay with him tonight. So, you can send Hu Qingsong back to school. I'll take a taxi to my relative's house." "Relative's house?" Han Qinggu stared blankly and looked at Tan Xiu with an astonished expression. Then, she nodded and said, "Then, pay attention to your safety." Although Shanghai's public security is very good, it's still possible for accidents to happen if you're alone outside, especially at night. All right. Tan Xiu said with a smile. I'm not a child anymore, so don't worry. After a while, Han Qinggu drove the car and left with Hu Qingsong, while Tan Xiu walked to the other side. To avoid Han Qinggu from returning, he deliberately circled around the everlasting feast hall before returning. Boss. Upon seeing Tan Xiu return, Qi Nan respectfully called out with a smile on her face. Prepare 2 bottles of good wine for me and take me to the VIP lounge on the 4th floor. Tan Xiu nodded. All right, please wait a moment. Qi Nan strode to the elevator. 2 minutes later, she returned to Tan Xiu with 2 bottles of beautifully packaged wine and said with a smile, this is a good wine that I've kept for a long time. It's much better than the wine I sent to the VIP lounge on the 4th floor. Tan Xiu looked at it and nodded with a smile, you're good at handling matters. Let's go. Knock, knock, Qi Nan knocked on the VIP lounge's door on the 4th floor. She then gently pushed the door open and looked at the chatting Miao Wentang's group of 4. She then chuckled and said, Gentlemen, I'm sorry to disturb you again. Miao Wentang stood up and was about to speak when he saw Tan Xiu coming in behind Qi Nan. A pleasantly surprised look immediately appeared on his face as he smilingly said, Brother Tang, we were just talking about you. I didn't expect you to come here. Please come in. I didn't disturb you, did I? Tan Xiu said with a smile. Miao Wentang said with a smile, No, no. These 3 friends of mine just said that they want to get to know you. They'll be very happy to have you here. Come, let me introduce them to you. This is Zhang Yueming, the owner of the Xinyang Group and also the vice president of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce. This is Gu Changmin, the owner of Dingshan Media. And this is Jin Xinkue, the owner of Jinda Real Estate. I've been friends with them for more than 20 years. Tan Xiu smiled and shook hands with the 3 of them. Immediately after, he was warmly greeted by Miao Wentang and took a seat. Qi Nan, however, acted like a waitress as she personally opened a bottle of wine and poured it for Tan Xiu. Welcome to the everlasting feast hall. It's fate for us to meet all of you here today. Count this meal on me. I hope you can come to our everlasting feast hall more often in the future. Tan Xiu raised his glass and said with a smile. You're too polite, Boss Tang. Jin Xinkue was the first to speak upon hearing it. Tan Xiu nodded to him with a smile. He then looked at Miao Wentang and said, I originally came here for a meal, but I didn't expect you to be here. Why did you suddenly think of coming to Shanghai? Brother Tang, you're not like me. Miao Wentang smiled and said, the wine tasting conference, which is held once in a few years, will be held in a few days. It's such an important moment that I naturally have to come here. I hope I can taste the new wine this year. But you, how did you suddenly become the owner of the delicious restaurant? It's a long story, let's talk about it later. Tan Xiu said. But I can assure you that you'll be in luck this year for the wine tasting conference. What do you mean? Miao Wentang was surprised. Don't tell me you know that there will be a new wine? Asked Miao Wentang. When I was idle, I started a winery, Tan Xiu said. Although I handed over the management to others, I personally made the wine recipe. I'll naturally give you a pleasant surprise during the wine tasting conference. Miao Wentang said with a strange expression, I heard you say before that you can brew wine. But I didn't expect you to open a winery. If the wine produced by your winery is really good, I'll help you contact those wine wholesalers. I guarantee you won't have to worry about the sales. Tan Xiu shook his head and said, I appreciate your kindness, but I'll help you contact the wine wholesalers. The wine produced by our winery will only be sold in our exclusive stores in major cities across the country. It seems that Brother Tang is very confident. Miao Wentang said with a smile. Jin Xinkue suddenly interjected, Boss Tang, since you have a wine business and I'm also a wine lover, I'll book a batch of good wine from you first. As for how much I want. 50 million. What? Miao Wentong was stunned, while Zhang Yueming and Gu Changmin were also dumbfounded. What does this mean? How is this Jin Xinkue selling wine? This is obviously flattery. Tan Xiu was silent for a moment. Then, he suddenly grinned and said, I didn't intend to sell it in this way. But since Boss Jin has spoken, I can't refuse. The price of my wine is 10,000 yuan per bottle, but you're an exception. I'll give you a 20% discount. Let's make an agreement first, only this time. I'm very grateful to all the brothers and sisters for your recommendation votes and monthly votes. Today's third update will be presented. Chapter 321. Jin Xinkue didn't care about the price of the wine at all. What he cared about was making friends. Others might not know how terrifying Tan Xiu was, but he was perfectly aware of it. Making friends with Tan Xiu wouldn't bring him any harm even if there were no benefits in the future. Alright, Boss Tang has the final say on everything. Tan Xiu said with a smile, Boss Jin is a straightforward person. I didn't expect that I would meet such a straightforward person as soon as I came to Shanghai. If you don't mind, just call me Tan Xiu. Or, you can call me Brother Tang like Brother Miao does. Jin Xinkue was overjoyed. He quickly got up and grabbed the wine bottle to fill Tan Xiu's cup. Then, he said with a cordial smile, I'm indebted to Brother Tang for thinking so highly of me. Although it's our first meeting, I feel like old friends with Brother Tang at first sight. Come, let's have a drink. Tan Xiu didn't decline. He clinked glasses with Jin Xinkue and downed it in one gulp. Zhang Yueming and Gu Changmin were extremely puzzled by Jin Xinkue's actions and blatant fawning. They really couldn't figure out why Jin Xinkue, a powerful figure in Shanghai, would show goodwill to Tan Xiu again and again, even lowering his status to fawn on him. What did he know? Both of them were smart people. Even though they couldn't figure it out, the importance they attached to Tan Xiu grew stronger. Zhang Yueming smiled and raised his glass, saying, Boss Tang, Brother Jin has always had a good eye. Since he has ordered a batch of wine from you, then we'll also benefit from it. I'll also order 50 million bottles. Do you have any problem with that? I also want to order 50 million bottles in advance, Gu Changmin also said. No problem. Tan Xiu smiled. The three of you can contact Kang Xia, the general manager of the Magnificent Tang Corporation. I'll inform her in advance. The Magnificent Tang Corporation? Kang Xia. Zhang Yueming and Gu Changmin exclaimed in shock. Even Jin Xinkue was stunned, his eyes bursting with disbelief. They all knew that the famous business genius Kang Xia suddenly went to Shuangqing Province's Star City to set up a company, and it seemed that the investment was not small. But they never expected that Kang Xia turned out to be working for Tan Xiu. They were sure that if this news were to spread, the headlines of all the major financial newspapers the next day would definitely be about this young man. Miao Wentong said with a smile, it seems that you still don't know. That's right. Brother Tang is simply a hands-off shopkeeper and usually doesn't manage the Magnificent Tang Corporation's affairs. You all know about my investment in the new city in Star City, right? In fact, Brother Tang was the one who initiated the development of the new city. We shareholders are just following Brother Tang to earn money and support our families. Zhang Yueming and Gu Changmin, as well as the dumbfounded Jin Xinkue, were once again shocked by this heavy news. They naturally knew about the large-scale construction project in Star City, especially the architectural complex design. At that time, their eyes were glued to it and they wished that they could invest all of their family's property in it, just to eat some meat and drink some soup. Who were they? What kind of vision did they have? How could they not see how huge the benefits of such a big project were? It was just that. Never once in their dreams did they expect that such a big project, which even a total investment of 100 billion yuan would not be able to complete, was unexpectedly led by this young man in front of them. Zhang Yueming's lips squirmed a few times as he raised his thumbs up and praised, Boss Tang, you really make us blush with shame. We've been working hard for decades. Even if we've accumulated a lot of assets, we still don't dare to play such a big game like you. Tan Xiu said with a smile, Big brothers, let's not talk about these business matters. In fact, I'm like a newborn calf that's not afraid of a tiger. Even if I fail, I can always start over again. Come, let me propose a toast to you. Come. Ha! The five of them gulped down the wine in their glasses. Immediately after, Tan Xiu stood up and smilingly said, I still have other things to do, so I won't disturb your drinking. Thank you for your support today, big brothers. I'll definitely tell them to reserve the best wine for you. Big brother Miao, come to the restaurant's office after you're done. I have something I want to talk to you about. No problem, replied Miao Wentong with a smile. After leaving the VIP lounge with Qi Nan, Tan Xiu went directly to the restaurant's general manager's office. After he sat down on the sofa, Qi Nan took out some good tea leaves and brewed a pot of tea for Tan Xiu. She then personally poured it and placed it on the tea table in front of Tan Xiu. I haven't asked you yet. What's your name? Tan Xiu took a sip of tea and waved his hand, motioning her to sit on the opposite sofa. Qi Nan. Qi Nan as in, late. Said Qi Nan respectfully. It seems that you're a core member of the Everlasting Feast Hall, right? Tan Xiu said with a smile. Otherwise, you shouldn't have seen my photo. Qi Nan said, yes. Although I joined the Everlasting Feast Hall a few years later than Tian Li and Hao Lei, it was boss who raised me up and taught me martial arts skills. You seem to be afraid of me? Asked Tan Xiu with a smile. Qi Nan hesitated for a moment before saying, you're the boss, the object of our loyalty. It's only right for me to be afraid of you. Don't be afraid of me. Tan Xiu said with a smile. I'm not a big tiger, nor a murderous demon king. In fact, I want to be friends with you and become the closest comrades in arms. Qi Nan lowered her head and didn't speak. Tan Xiu looked at her and said, all right. Don't be so cautious in front of me. I'm really willing to exchange my heart for my own people. So, as long as you treat me as your closest person, I'll also treat you with sincerity. Qi Nan raised her head and asked, are you telling the truth? Of course I'm telling the truth. Tan Xiu said with a smile. Although I'm almost ruthless toward my enemies, I'll treat my own people with sincerity and sincerity. This world is too complicated, and it's not easy to become one of our own. That's why I cherish talents. In my opinion, you're very smart and a talent. Qi Nan was delighted and said with a smile, boss, I'll be proud if you praise me like this. Tan Xiu couldn't help laughing and said, it's okay to be proud, but don't be arrogant. Don't worry. I know what I'm doing, said Qi Nan with a smile. Tan Xiu nodded and waved his hand, saying, all right. Go do your thing. I'm going to take a nap here. You can directly bring Miao Wentong here when he's done. Understood. Qi Nan nodded and got up to leave the office. In the VIP lounge on the 4th floor. After Tan Xiu left, Zhang Yueming finally couldn't help but look at Jin Xinkue and curiously asked, Brother Jin, what kind of show are you playing today? I know you want to know Tan Xiu, but you don't need to be so obvious, do you? Jin Xinkue was in a good mood and smilingly said, you don't understand. Brother Jin, we're not strangers. You just saw that Tan Xiu has a good character and is easy to get along with, said Zhang Yueming. So, why don't you tell us? What's the reason why you care so much about making friends with Tan Xiu? Jin Xinkue hesitated and looked at Miao Wentong. Miao Wentong was silent for a moment and slowly said, Brother Jin, since Brother Zhang has asked, then tell us. I know a lot about Tan Xiu, so it's not a big deal for me to know more about him. We promise you that we won't divulge half a word of what you said today. Zhang Yueming quickly nodded and said, that's right. We'll never divulge it. Only the four of us know about this matter. Gu Changmin was also eager to know the whole story, so he also said, don't worry. I'm not a talkative person. A wry smile appeared on Jin Shinkue's face as he said, "Since you said so, then I won't hide it anymore. But this matter is of great importance. I'm afraid I'll have a hard time in the future if you divulge it to others." "Don't worry," said Miao Wentong. A bit solemn expression appeared on Jin Shinkue's face as he said, "You should know the owner of Wanyuan Real Estate in Hong Kong, Chen Jianye." "I know him. He's a very powerful person," said Miao Wentong. "Brother Jin, isn't Chen Jianye your cousin?" asked Zhang Yueming in surprise. "That's right. He's indeed my cousin," said Jin Shinkue with a forced smile. "But more than a month ago, something happened to him in Hong Kong." Zhang Yueming's expression moved as he asked, "Is it related to Tan Xiu?" Jin Shinkue nodded and said, "That nephew of mine offended Tan Xiu and got beaten up. He was even arrested and brought to the Everlasting Feast Hall. My cousin has a very strong character. As a result, he had a conflict with the people of the Everlasting Feast Hall in Hong Kong. Tan Xiu was in the Everlasting Feast Hall at that time, and it was his actions that made me afraid." "What exactly happened?" asked Zhang Yueming hurriedly. "Don't worry. Listen to me slowly," said Jin Shinkue in a deep voice. "There were a total of 4 young men who offended Tan Xiu. They were, 4 or 5 minutes later." Jin Shinkue told the whole story and finally said with a forced smile, 49% of Wanyuan Real Estate's shares as compensation. My cousin has painstakingly trained his men for so many years, yet most of them were killed. The other clans weren't any better. Tell me, is Tan Xiu scary or not?" "Scary." Zhang Yueming and Gu Changmin gulped down their saliva, their voices somewhat trembling. Never in their dreams did they expect that the Everlasting Feast Hall would have such a powerful force, nor did they expect that Tan Xiu would be so ruthless and ruthless. Hundreds of lives. He only issued an order, yet so many people were killed. I wouldn't be so afraid of him if it was only the Everlasting Feast Hall's security guards. Jin Shinkue sighed. But from what I heard from my cousin, Tang Xiu killed more than 20 people by himself later on. He alone fought more than 20 people. So terrifying. Zhang Yueming and Gu Changmin were shocked to the point that it was hard for them to recover. Miao Wentong was only a bit surprised. He was perfectly aware of Tan Xiu's strength. Although he didn't know whether Tan Xiu's cultivation had progressed in the past 2 or 3 months, he could easily kill more than 20 ordinary people with his previous ability. Many brothers and sisters are urging Quiet Knight to break through at 10 chapters. To be honest, Quiet Knight is powerless. After all, Quiet Knight is not a full-time writer and is also the deputy director of the TV station. He's very busy with work every day. Updating 10,000 words a day is already the limit of Quiet Knight's breaking through. For the sake of Quiet Knight's explosiveness for a month after work, please throw your monthly tickets to Quiet Knight, brothers and sisters. Thank you very much. Chapter 322. Except for Miao Wentong, who knew about Tan Xiu, the others in the VIP lounge only knew about Tan Xiu through hearsay. Jin Shinkue's words, however, made them fall into silence. Terrifying. Ruthless and merciless. Their perception of Tan Xiu had completely changed. Cough, cough. Miao Wentong coughed twice and lightly said, I've worked with Tan Xiu for some time, so I know a lot about him. He may be ruthless and merciless to his enemies, but he's very good to his friends. Therefore, he won't attack his friends as long as you don't deliberately oppose him. Brother Jin, you've done a good job today. At least, Tan Xiu approves of your performance. If you get along well with him in the future, it'll be easy to make friends with him. A trace of a smile appeared on Jin Shinkue's face as he nodded and said, I was worried that Tan Xiu wouldn't be easy to get along with before. But after seeing him, I'm relieved. He's not that kind of evil person. Immediately, the smile on his face slowly disappeared and was replaced with a solemn expression as he said, what I just said to you must not spread it out. Otherwise, not only will Tan Xiu bear a grudge against us, my cousin will also run into bad luck. Rest assured. Understood. They nodded, indicating that they wouldn't spread it out. Half an hour later. Miao Wentong escorted the three out of the everlasting feast hall and then returned inside. Under Chi Nan's lead, he came to the general manager's office. A knock on the door awakened Tan Xiu from his rest. Come in, brother Miao. Tan Xiu got up from the sofa and said with a smile. Brother Tang, you asked me to stay, so there must be something very important, right? Miao Wentong said with a smile. Tell me, is there any big plan to make a fortune that you want me to play with? Tan Xiu couldn't help laughing and said, how could there be so many big plans to make a fortune? Actually, I called you here because I want to ask you for a favor. Miao Wentong said, what is it? Speak. Tan Xiu said, we are both cultivators. I think you should know about tripod furnaces, right? It was not a cauldron used to refine pills, but a cauldron used to refine weapons. I'm preparing to refine some gadgets, but I don't have a suitable furnace, so I want to ask for your help to see where I can buy one. Miao Wentong frowned and said, a furnace to refine weapons. Even if such a thing could be found, no one would sell it, right? Actually, I do know who has this kind of cauldron. As for whether he's willing to sell it, I can't say for sure. Who has it? Tan Xiu's expression changed as he hurriedly asked. Miao Wentong said, you also know him, Dao Master Z. Tan Xiu was surprised, Dao Master Z actually has a weapon refining furnace. It seems that I need to contact him. If he is willing to sell the cauldron to me, I will give him a fair price. Miao Wentong shook his head and said, Brother Tang, Dao Master Z regards money as dirt. If you want to buy it with money, I advise you to be prepared to be refused. As a matter of fact, I know what he lacks, but it's too difficult to find. It's extremely rare in this world. What is it? Tan Xiu quickly asked. Miao Wentong said, gu needles. It's best if you can gather a complete set of 18 gu needles. What is that? A confused look appeared in Tan Xiu's eyes as he asked, Brother Miao, I've never heard of this kind of thing. What's its shape? What's its use? Miao Wentong said, 18 gu needles, each with different shapes. Each of them has different length, curvature, as well as barbed hooks, lines, and other things. You should have heard about gu poison, right? Gu needles are treasures used to treat gu poison. Tan Xiu asked, I know about gu poison. It's a poison that has been placed inside the body, and it contains an extremely strong poison. Why is Dao Master Z looking for gu needles? Miao Wentong sighed, Dao Master Z's direct disciple, a smart and quick-witted little guy. More than half a year ago, he was traveling in the Miao region. Because he inadvertently offended a gu poison expert in the Miao region, he was poisoned by the gu poison expert. This gu poison is extremely rare and powerful. Even if Dao Master Z tried his best, he still couldn't expel the gu poison from the little guy's body. Me and Brother Xiao also tried, but we were still helpless. I got it. A glint flashed in Tan Xiu's eyes. Since even Dao Master Z and Miao Wentong were helpless, he felt that even if he acted, his chances would not be big. After all, a lot of methods needed to be coordinated with his cultivation. His current cultivation was too low, and there was a big gap between him and the others. Suddenly, his expression moved as he remembered something. He immediately looked at Miao Wentong and said, Brother Miao, I didn't leave Dao Master Z's contact information. I think you should be able to contact him, right? Perhaps someone can expel the gu poison from his disciple's body. Miao Wentong quickly asked, who can expel it? Tan Xiu said with a smile, an old friend of mine. I'll have to trouble Brother Tang to contact Dao Master Z. If it's convenient, tell him to bring his disciple to Shanghai. Miao Wentong nodded and said, although Dao Master Z has a mobile phone, he rarely uses it. Furthermore, he lives deep in the mountains and there's no signal there. So be it. I'll contact the people there to find Dao Master Z. Once I find him, I'll tell him to bring his disciple to Shanghai immediately. Tan Xiu said, don't forget about the human cauldron. Miao Wentong said with a smile, don't worry. If your old friend can really cure his disciple, let alone the human cauldron, even if he wants something more precious, I'm afraid Dao Master Z will take it out. Subsequently, Tan Xiu and Miao Wentong chatted for a while. When Miao Wentong left, Ji Qimei's appearance appeared in Tan Xiu's mind. Ji Qimei was a member of the succubus clan. Among the things that the succubus clan was good at, there was the inheritance of witchcraft. Witchcraft was good at using goo and was also good at removing goo poisons. Given Ji Qimei's ability, it would be a piece of cake for her to remove the goo on earth. Today. The reason why he talked to Miao Wentong alone was to get the human cauldron. He had already prepared the ores needed to refine the interspatial ring. The reason why he didn't start refining it until now was because he didn't have a human cauldron. Boss, what about you? Qi Nan stood at Tan Xiu's side and asked in a soft voice. Tan Xiu said, there's nothing else. The restaurant's business here is very good and looks very prosperous. It's getting late, so I should go back. Do you want me to send you back? Qi Nan quickly asked. Tan Xiu hesitated for a moment before he nodded and said, then send me back. Although there's nothing to do in the next few days, I still have to adapt to the life of a college student. A trace of a smile appeared on Qi Nan's face as she said, Boss, I don't understand why you want to study at the university. In fact, with your identity, let alone a college student, if you want, you can casually build a very high-level university. Tan Xiu forced a smile and said, actually, I don't have any interest in studying at the university. But my mother's wish is for me to study at the university, and I don't want to disappoint her. However, studying at the university isn't necessarily a bad thing. After all, the sea of learning is boundless, and learning more things is always good for me. Boss, you really don't want to be a young man, but more like a scholar. Qi Nan chuckled. Tan Xiu couldn't help laughing. The duo chatted while walking and quickly went out of the everlasting feast hall's entrance. Under Qi Nan's lead, they stopped in front of a black Lamborghini supercar in the parking lot. What a good car! Tan Xiu liked the car's appearance and couldn't help but praise it. Boss, you can drive this car at any time if you like it, said Qi Nan with a charming smile. If you don't like it, I'll immediately order a new one for you. Forget it. Tan Xiu waved his hand and said with a smile. Although I also like cars, there are several cars parked at my place. Besides, this is Shanghai, a metropolis. Even if I have a sports car with a very high configuration, I'm afraid I have to drive it according to the speed limit, no? Driving a sports car in this kind of place is kind of a waste. You don't know about it, boss. Qi Nan covered her mouth and chuckled. Actually, there are a lot of second-generation nouveau riches in Shanghai who like to race cars. Although the speed limit in Shanghai is very high, Chengxi City's Laoshan Highway is only a little more than an hour's drive away. It's the base of racing enthusiasts, and there are racing competitions almost every few days. Today is September 1st, and it seems like there's also a racing competition there. It's very exciting. Racing on Laoshan Highway should be very dangerous, right? Tan Xiu was surprised. Furthermore, the traffic department doesn't care about it. Logically speaking, racing competitions are not allowed there, said Qi Nan with a smile. But some people have eyes and ears, so the traffic department can only turn a blind eye to it. Those who can go there to race are almost all rich people. Even if there's an accident, there will be someone to deal with it. Tan Xiu hesitated and asked, is the racing competition really exciting? What time does it usually start? It's really exciting, said Qi Nan. I've been there several times, and even the king racer, Mu Zi, was crushed by me. I bought this car with the money I won there. As for the competition time, it usually starts at 10 p.m. Tan Xiu looked at the time and found that there was only half an hour left before 10 p.m. He shook his head and smilingly said, although I really want to go there to experience it, it seems like I don't have enough time. Forget it. Boss, I can call Mu Zi if you want to go there to play, said Chi Nan quickly. Racing competitions are often delayed due to special circumstances. Besides, Mu Zi owes me a big favor, so I'm sure he can do it if I call him. What's Mu Zi's background? Asked Tan Xiu. He's the local tyrant of Changxi City, and his family is very powerful, said Chi Nan. Whether it's in the political or business circles, there are elders in his family. That's why Laoshan Highway has been under his management for 6 or 7 years, and it's still smoothly under his control. Upon hearing it, Tan Xiu stared blankly and hesitantly said, if it's possible, then call him. No problem. Chi Nan nodded with a smile. After saying that, she quickly took out her mobile and dialed a cell number. Quiet Night's WeChat account will be raining red packets tomorrow. Brothers and sisters who don't follow Quiet Night's WeChat account, hurry up. Quiet Night's WeChat account is JYJS00, or search for Quiet Night Thoughts and follow Quiet Night's WeChat account. Quiet Night will update the Immortal World's news on it every week, and will interact with it in a timely manner. Also, there will be red packets raining from time to time. _. Chapter 323. Changxi City. Halfway up the Laoshan Highway, a large and spacious square had been developed. Dozens of searchlights in the surroundings brightly illuminated the entire square. On the square, hundreds of young men and women, dressed in fancy clothes, were pacing back and forth between several rows of temporary long tables. The long tables were filled with all kinds of wine and delicacies. Some men and women were enjoying the wine and delicacies while chatting in groups of 3 to 5, looking very lively. Around the square, in addition to various types of vehicles, there were dozens of luxury supercars parked a little further in. Some people were holding wine glasses and sitting on the hood of the supercars, while some were hugging hot girls and leaning on the doors. On a long table filled with fine wine and delicacies, a man in his 30s was hugging a hot girl in his arms and chatting merrily with several young men. He was Ji Mu, also known as Mu Zi. Ring, 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 Ji Mu's mobile phone rang, but he couldn't hear the sound due to the noisy surroundings. However, he could sense the vibration. When he took out his mobile and saw the caller's name on the screen, he stared blankly for a moment. He immediately let go of the hot girl's slender waist and gestured to the other young men to keep quiet. Then, he picked up the call and smilingly said, "Big sis Nan, you're such a busy man. How come you suddenly remembered to call me? Is there a car race on the Laoshan Highway tonight?" Chi Nan's voice came out of the phone. "Yeah." Ji Mu laughed. "There's still half an hour before the race starts. Big sis Nan, do you also want to come and play?" "Let's postpone it for an hour," said Chi Nan. "I'm bringing a very important person there to play. I'll be there before 11 o'clock. "A very important person?" Ji Mu stared blankly for a moment before he immediately said with a smile, "Big sis Nan, I've been looking forward to seeing you. I hope you can come and support me." "Don't worry. I'll inform the people to postpone tonight's race for an hour." "That's right, can I ask in advance who the very important person you brought tonight is?" "You don't need to ask. In short, just treat him better than you treat me," said Chi Nan. The expression on Ji Mu's handsome face changed a few times as he listened to the busy tone coming from the phone. He knew Chi Nan's identity. She was the vice manager of the Everlasting Feast Hall in Shanghai, a very capable woman. In particular, his racing skills left him in the dust. A few professional racers from Hong Kong had beaten up the racing enthusiasts in the nearby cities. Even he, who was known as the king of racers, had been beaten up badly. He had lost all his face. He had no choice but to call Chi Nan for help. In the end, Chi Nan had put in a lot of effort, but in the end, she had beaten the professional racers from Hong Kong and saved their face. Come to think about it, he really owed Chi Nan a big favor. "Monkey, pass down the order. Tonight's race will be postponed for an hour." Ji Mu took out a cigarette, lit it, and said after taking a deep puff. The lean youth, who was called Monkey, had an excited expression on his face as he asked, "Boss G, was it Sister Nan who just called you? She wants to come over to play." "She's coming. I heard that she's bringing someone very important to her to play." Ji Mu nodded. "So tell them that the match will start at 11 o'clock. Monkey forced a smile and said, "Boss G, I'm afraid Li Jun won't be happy about this, right? I believe you know why he's here today. It's to avenge the fiasco from more than a month ago. I heard that he invited a professional racer from Hong Kong. That guy once won the championship in the Asian Racing Championship." "I've also heard about that guy," said Ji Mu with a solemn expression. "He's known as the God of Cars in Hong Kong. He's only a little bit worse than Aji, who won the championship 7 times in the World Racing Championship. I've been prepared to lose, but I didn't expect that Sister Nan would suddenly come. If she's here, we might have a 50% chance of winning." "I hope we can win," said Monkey. A few minutes later, a group of young men and women clustered around a white-haired youth with a perm hairstyle came before Ji Mu and the others. "Brother Ji, I heard that you're going to postpone the race for an hour. Are you afraid of losing miserably, so you went to find some outside help?" "Ha ha ha. I'll tell you. Even if you find some outside help, I'm afraid there's only one ending for you, a crushing and miserable defeat." The youth looked at Ji Mu with a provocative and arrogant expression. "Victory and defeat are common occurrences for a soldier," said Ji Mu indifferently. "Even if we lose today, it'll only be the first time. But for you, if you lose again today, it'll be a continuous disgrace. Li Zhen, if I were you, I'd just wait for the race to start. Don't be too arrogant, else you'll be disgraced even more if you lose." Li Zhen rolled his eyes and mocked, "I lost once because I was careless. If you win this time, I'll never step into this place again." Ji Mu nodded and said, "I've prepared 20 million. Take the money if you can win." Li Zhen rolled his eyes and said, "Ji Mu, since you want to change the race time, then I also have a condition. Let's double the bet. Do you dare?" "It's only 40 million even if I double it," said Ji Mu with a faint smile. "Whatever." Li Zhen proudly said, "If that's the case, then just wait for the money to be handed over to me. I'll also tell the other contestants about this news. If they want to continue gambling, they can only take out 20 million. Whoever wins will get 80 million from us." Ji Mu was not short of money. He could earn hundreds of millions of yuan every year by running the racing gambling race here. Coupled with the fact that he played from time to time, he had also won a lot of money. Therefore, 40 million and 20 million were not much different to him, neither was a big sum of money. For people like him, who had status and background, money was sometimes not as important as face. Especially in the circle of debauches, face was the most important thing. Time fleeted by. At 10:40 a.m., a black Lamborghini supercar roared into the square. Its wonderful drifting attracted the attention of most people in the square. Ji Mu, along with a group of young men and women, quickly walked toward the Lamborghini. Then, he saw Chi Nan in the driver's seat. She quickly opened the door and then trotted to the front passenger seat and opened the door herself. Immediately after, they saw a young man coming down from the car with a smile on his face. Who is he? Among the hundreds of people present, 70% to 80% of them knew Chi Nan. They also knew that she was the deputy manager of Shanghai's Everlasting Feast Hall. Yet, they found it hard to believe that the usually arrogant and glamorous Chi Nan would actually act as a driver for someone else. She even opened the door for that person under the watchful eyes of the public, looking like she was her subordinate. Li Zhen also knew Chi Nan. He also knew that she once participated in a racing competition here and won against several professional racers from Hong Kong. However, he was very confident in the little car god he invited this time, so he didn't put Chi Nan in his eyes. Who are they? The young man standing next to Li Zhen asked coolly. Huan Yu, that woman is Chi Nan, the one I once told you about, said Li Zhen. She once won against several professional racers from Hong Kong. As for that kid beside her, I've never seen him before. Huan Yu nodded and said, I've fought against those guys who raced against Qi Nan before. They are very powerful. Even if I want to win against them, I have to go all out. That Qi Nan can win against them, so I'm afraid she's not much worse than me. But you can rest assured that I'll help you win this race tonight since I've accepted your money. You're known as the little car god, said Li Zhen with a smile. I'm very confident in you to win this race. Come on, I'll treat you to a drink after the race. No problem, said Huan Yu coolly. Ji Mu came to Qi Nan and Tan Xiu with a group of young men and women. A warm look appeared on his face as he called out, Hello, big sis Nan. And this is... Tan Xiu stepped forward, stretched out his hand and said with a smile, I'm Tan Xiu. You can consider me as a passerby. Did I disturb you by coming here to play tonight? Ji Mu shook hands with Tan Xiu and said with a smile, Not at all. You're big sis Nan's friend, so you're also my friend. I'm more than happy that you can come here to play. To tell you the truth, I've only watched racing competitions on TV before. This is my first time seeing it in real life, said Tan Xiu with a smile. Can I join you in the race later? You've never seen it in real life? Ji Mu stared blankly with a strange expression on his face. He originally looked forward to Qi Nan bringing a more powerful racer. Even if he had to thicken his face and beg her, or even spend some money, he still wanted to ask her to help him win tonight's bet. But he didn't expect that the other party had never played before. Yeah, I've never seen her before, said Tan Xiu with a smile. It's alright. The most important thing is to participate, said Ji Mu with a dry smile. After that, he turned to look at Qi Nan and forced a smile, Big sis Nan, how about you join us tonight? Some people are coming to make trouble, and the other party's background is not small. I'm afraid we'll lose if you don't join the race. Qi Nan glanced at Tan Xiu and said, I'm here to accompany you, not to gamble. This, Ji Mu looked at Tan Xiu with an awkward expression. He found that Qi Nan attached great importance to Tan Xiu, so he could only beg Tan Xiu to let Qi Nan participate in tonight's bet. Since she has asked, then let's play. Tan Xiu said with a smile. But we only drove one car here. We don't seem to have enough cars for the race. I'll give my car to Big Sis Nan, said Ji Mu quickly. Then I'll play. Qi Nan nodded. Winning or losing has nothing to do with me. I'll just do my best. I'm relieved to hear Big Sis Nan say that you'll do your best, said Ji Mu with a smile. You can rest assured that I'll pay for the bet. If I win, the money will be yours. But if I lose, I'll be fully responsible for it. You still have money to gamble? Tan Xiu was surprised. How big is the bet? Ji Mu said with a smile, the original bet was 20 million per person. But Li Zhen insisted on fighting me to the death and raised the bet to 40 million. As for the others, it's still 20 million. It's the end of the month. Brothers and sisters, please throw your monthly tickets to Jingye. Chapter 324. Tan Xiu was a bit surprised upon hearing this. Didn't Ji Mu say that he was very powerful in Changxi? How could there be someone who dared to come here to make trouble? After he asked the question in his heart, he finally understood the whole story. He suddenly understood and smilingly said, there are fights wherever there are people, so it's normal for us to gamble a little. We won't take advantage of you. If we lose, we'll take out 20 million just like the others. If we win, the gambling money will belong to us. Ji Mu stared blankly for a moment. Gambling a little. Taking out 20 million is considered as a small gamble? All of a sudden, he was deeply curious about Tan Xiu's identity. When he looked at Qi Nan with an inquiring look, Qi Nan smiled and said, I have no objection. If that's the case, then it's decided. Ji Mu nodded. Brother Tang, this is your first time coming here, so you're not familiar with the racetrack, right? How about you drive around first to familiarize yourself with the track and then we'll start. Is there enough time? Asked Tan Xiu. Let's drive around the entire Laoshan Highway. If we're fast enough, we can finish it in 10 minutes, said Ji Mu. Then I'll drive around. Tan Xiu nodded. Qi Nan, accompany me to drive around. All right. Qi Nan nodded. There's still 15 minutes left before 11 o'clock. I want to know if you can drive around within the time limit. I'm afraid the others won't be happy if it affects the race. Surrounded by a group of people, Li Zhen arrived with a sneer on his face. He observed Tan Xiu for a while before his eyes fell on Qi Nan. Qi Nan, you've been here before. How long did you take to drive around Laoshan Highway? Asked Tan Xiu. 11 minutes and 45 seconds, answered Qi Nan. That should be about the same, said Tan Xiu with a smile. If I can't drive around Laoshan Highway in 15 minutes, I'm afraid there's no point for me to participate in this race. That's right, judging from your appearance, you should be the core figure of this group, right? How should I address you? Li Zhen. I'll remember your name. Tan Xiu nodded. If I lose today's match, I'll give you 40 million. But if you lose, can you promise me something? What is it? Asked Li Zhen with a frown. Tan Xiu said, if I win, you must immediately avoid me when you see me in the future. Li Zhen's eyebrows twitched as a bright light burst out from his eyes. He could faintly discern the hidden meaning in Tan Xiu's words. It seemed like he had a grudge with him in the past. Do we know each other? Li Zhen asked. Tan Xiu shook his head and said, I don't know him. Li Zhen frowned and said, then it's nothing, said Tan Xiu lightly. I'm a person who is afraid of trouble, and someone like you who's a spoiled brat will easily stir up trouble. If you stay away from me, we won't have any conflicts in the future. A mocking expression appeared on Li Zhen's face as he said, you're really farsighted. I promise you that if I lose, I'll avoid you when I see you in the future. Tan Xiu slightly nodded and gestured to Qi Nan. Then, he walked toward the black Lamborghini supercar. Familiarize himself with the operation. Start. Although Tan Xiu had just obtained his driver's license and hadn't been driving for a long time, he was very good at driving. As long as he could familiarize himself with the operation, it would be easy for him to speed up. After all, his eyesight and reaction speed were far beyond that of ordinary people. Along with the humming sound of the engine, the Lamborghini instantly sped forward. Qi Nan, you know this road. Tell me what I need to pay attention to. On the front passenger seat, Qi Nan nodded and said, no problem. We'll keep moving around Mount Lao after we enter the road. There's a fence on the edge of the road, so we won't fall off the cliff as long as we don't directly rush out. Boss, just speed up. I'll tell you in advance when we're about to turn or slope. All right. Tan Xiu held the steering wheel with one hand and moved the gear with the other hand. The accelerator was getting lower and lower with each increase of gear. Under the dim yellow street lights, the Lamborghini's speed quickly reached 100 km per hour. After maintaining this speed for 2 minutes, Tan Xiu began to speed up again. There's a U-turn ahead, boss. Qi Nan quickly reminded him. Tan Xiu nodded. Although the street lights were not very bright, his eyes were particularly sharp. With the familiar operation, the car quickly reached 160 km per hour. How do you do those drifting cars on TV? Asked Tan Xiu all of a sudden. Qi Nan stared blankly and asked in surprise, you don't even know how to drift, boss? I've never raced before, so how would I know about drifting? Tan Xiu said with a smile. Besides, I just got my driver's license about 2 months ago. Apart from being familiar with the operation of several models, I haven't driven any other cars. For example, this is my first time driving a sports car. Qi Nan was somewhat speechless. She really couldn't understand why Tan Xiu would bet with Li Zhen when he had never driven a sports car before. Even if 40 million yuan was just a small amount of money, he didn't need to lose money and face at the same time, right? Boss, Drifting is a kind of driving technique, also known as side slip, tire slip, or tail flick. The driver oversteers, when the hand brake and foot brake are applied at the same time, abruptly turns the steering wheel to change the direction of the car. When preparing to drift, you must have an accurate judgment of the road ahead, and your feet. While driving the car, Tan Xiu listened to Qi Nan's explanation. Gradually, he had a certain understanding of drifting. Since he had just bypassed the U-shaped road, he accelerated again and was ready to try drifting. Creak, the rapid tail flick caused the tires to violently rub against the ground, causing the car to move sideways. In just a few seconds, Tan Xiu completed an imperfect drifting. Even during the drifting process, he almost hit the mountain wall on the side. Not bad. Sitting in the driver's seat, Qi Nan's complexion was a bit pale, but she still sincerely sighed. After all, it was Tan Xiu's first time driving a sports car, and it was also his first time practicing drifting. It was already very rare that he didn't get into an accident on such a dangerous mountain road. Tan Xiu was also a bit nervous just now, but his nervousness vanished after the car completely stopped. Upon hearing Qi Nan's praise, he blushed with shame. After starting the car again and moving forward, he tried 4 or 5 more times. Awesome! When Tan Xiu tried for the last time, Qi Nan couldn't help but exclaim. She had a very keen sense of movement, and Tan Xiu tried 5 or 6 times, each attempt was better than the last. Even this time, Tan Xiu was almost able to drift with ease. Driving the car at more than 200 kilometers per hour, Tan Xiu smiled and said, "I'm not proficient enough. If I can drive a few more laps, I'm afraid I'll be able to adapt completely." In fact, this drifting technique is very simple. All it needs is precise judgment, the combination of speed and braking, as well as the steering wheel rotation. Boss, if I didn't know that you've never driven a sports car before and never tried drifting before, I would have thought that you're a racing expert. Just your last attempt alone made me think that you're a racing expert. Your learning speed is really amazing. I've never seen a driver improve faster than you. Tan Xiu couldn't help laughing and said, "Don't flatter me. Let's see how long we have left, shall we?" The smile on Qi Nan's face widened. She looked at the time and said, "It's 10:57 now, 3 minutes to the finish line." Boss, with your current speed, you won't be able to finish the remaining distance in 3 minutes. Unless. Upon hearing it, Tan Xiu immediately sped up a bit and asked, "Unless what?" "Unless you increase the speed to the extreme," said Qi Nan. "Sit tight," Tan Xiu shouted in a low voice. He instantly stepped on the accelerator pedal and the speed soared in an instant. At this moment, Tan Xiu's spirit was highly concentrated. He instantly released his spiritual sense and sensed the range of 200 to 300 meters ahead. The speed was very fast. 200 to 300 meters might be crossed in the blink of an eye, but being able to perceive the road ahead in advance was definitely an excellent aid when racing at such a high speed, especially when turning a corner. On the square halfway up the Laoshan Highway, everyone was eagerly waiting. "Big Brother Ji, do you think Tan Xiu can return within the specified time?" "There are only 2 minutes left before 11:00, asked the skinny and monkey-like monkey in a low voice with a worried look on his face. "You ask me, but who should I ask?" Ji Mu slowly said. "If Tan Xiu has never touched a racing car before, it'll be very difficult for him to return within the specified time. Plus, it's his first time racing on the Laoshan Highway and he's not familiar with the terrain, so I don't have much hope. I really don't get it. Why does he want to bet with Li Zhen? Could it be that they have a grudge before?" Ji Mu glanced at him and lightly said, "There shouldn't be any grudge between them. Didn't you hear Tan Xiu's answer to Li Zhen's question before? I guess it's because he doesn't like Li Zhen." "Just because he doesn't like him, not only did he lose money, but he also sent his face to be slapped," muttered Monkey. "Could it be that he's stupid?" "The world is so big that nothing is too strange," said Ji Mu. "So it's normal for some strange and eccentric youngsters to appear." "Eccentric and eccentric?" Monkey let out a hollow laugh and no longer spoke. On the other side, a faint smile hung on the corner of Li Zhen's mouth. He raised his wrist and looked at the hands on his watch. He was really curious whether Tan Xiu could come back within the specified time. Young Master Li, I don't think we need to wait anymore. Huan Yu still wore a cool expression as he spoke with his hands in his trouser pockets. Why do you say that? Li Zhen asked with a smile. Did you forget that it took me 14 minutes to drive a lap the first time I familiarized myself with the track? Huan Yu said. If that guy can really come back within the specified time, his driving skills can be compared to mine. Li Zhen shook his head and smilingly said, actually, it's still possible for him to come back within the specified time. Because. Chapter 325. When Huan Yu saw that Li Zhen was keeping him in suspense, he frowned slightly. In fact, he didn't like Li Zhen, but Li Zhen found him and promised him a large sum of money, so he agreed to come to Chengxi City and help him win a match. He doesn't like people, but he likes money. Therefore, he asked, why? Don't tell me you still haven't woken up. He was familiar with the track, so why did he let Qinan follow him? Say, if he drove a few kilometers away, changed into Qinan, and changed back when he was almost back here, then changed back again. Can we make it in time? Huan Yu was taken aback and said in surprise, you're saying they cheated? But if they cheat, what's the point of knowing the track? You don't understand the perverted thoughts of some people, said Li Zhen with a smile. For the sake of face, many people simply don't care so much. If he could return within the allotted time, it would prove to everyone that his driving skills were very good, and he would naturally win the admiration of many people. But during the race, if he loses, he can easily find an excuse. For example, he's not feeling well today, or there's a small problem with his car, or... In short, he can prove his strength by being familiar with the track. Winning or losing might not matter to him. Huan Yu couldn't deny it. If he really did that, then he'd be too stupid. Li Zhen grinned and said, I like this kind of idiot. Not only will he lose a lot of money to us, but we will also be able to step on him to stand higher and receive more attention. Where else can I find such a good deal that kills two birds with one stone? That's true. Huan Yu nodded slightly. Time ticked by, and soon, there was only half a minute left before 11 o'clock. On the distant Laoshan highway, no headlights appeared. I can't come back. Everyone thought with disdain. However, at this moment, at the far end of the road, two headlights shone over, and the lights were approaching at an extremely fast speed. No way. Rush back on time. My goodness, you're back so fast. Is that handsome guy surnamed Tang very powerful? I'm afraid there are no more than 20 people who are able to return within 15 minutes. He's not cheating, right? Some gasped in surprise, some questioned. 8 seconds before 11 o'clock, the black Lamborghini supercar rushed into the square like lightning. With a beautiful drift, it came to an abrupt stop. Tan Xiu opened the car's door and looked at Ji Mu, Li Zhen, and the others who came to greet him. He then laughed and asked, I'm not late, am I? Humph. Li Zhen coldly snorted and said, although you're not late, you still delayed the match. It was already 11 o'clock sharp. To ensure that the time is on the hour, I suggest we start in 10 minutes. Tan Xiu nodded and said, it doesn't matter. Anything is fine. Ji Mu raised his thumbs up and praised, you're really amazing, Brother Tang. It was his first time familiarizing himself with the road on the Laoshan highway, but he was able to rush back within 15 minutes. Even I couldn't compare to you back then. Tan Xiu smiled and said, you flatter me. Just relax a bit. We'll get ready to start later, said Ji Mu. There were a total of 7 people participating in the night race. Aside from Tan Xiu and Qinan, there were only Li Zhen and Huan Yu. As for the other 3, Tan Xiu didn't know them. Jimu originally wanted to participate in the race himself, but he lent his car to Qi Nan, so he acted as the referee. Each of the 7 luxury supercars was worth more than millions. It looked quite spectacular when they stopped in front of a horizontal line. Ready. Jimu held a small colorful flag in his hand. As he blew the whistle, the colorful flag also fell with a wave of his arm. In a flash, the engines of the 7 supercars roared as they rushed toward the exit of the square like arrows leaving the bowstring. Tan Xiu drove his black Lamborghini supercar. The speed was not fast at first and he was the 7th to rush out of the square's exit. However, since he had already memorized the road conditions of the Laoshan Highway, coupled with the fact that Qi Nan's sports car had an extremely high configuration and was full of power, he accelerated the moment he entered the Laoshan Highway. I must be at least in the top 3 before the U-turn. Tan Xiu squinted his eyes and accurately controlled the steering wheel and gear shift. When he pushed the gear to the highest, he also pushed the accelerator to the maximum. He overtook the Porsche supercar in front of him in just half a minute, and 2 minutes later, he overtook another supercar. Qi Nan's driving skills are good. Tan Xiu looked at the situation of the 4 supercars in front of him, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. As the scenery on both sides passed by, he accelerated the speed of the car. Soon, when the U-turn road was in front of him, he fiercely turned the steering wheel, released the gear, and used both the foot and hand brakes. After a beautiful drift, he took advantage of the gap between a supercar and the cliff to step on the accelerator and overtook it in the drift. Ahead, the red Ferrari supercar driven by Li Zhen was desperately trying to catch up with the 2 cars in front. He knew that the 2 drivers in front were Huan Yu and Qi Nan. At the moment, Huan Yu was first, and Qi Nan was second. I have to catch up. Even if I can't beat Huan Yu, I have to beat Qi Nan. Li Zhen gritted his teeth, turned the steering wheel, and stepped on the accelerator a little bit lower. However, when he was desperately trying to catch up with Qi Nan's car in front of him, the black Lamborghini had already appeared behind him with a beautiful drift. Moreover, what caused Li Zhen to be slightly distracted was that the speed of the black Lamborghini supercar was faster than his speed on the curved road. In just 2 seconds, he was overtaken by the Lamborghini supercar. Damn it! The driver is Tan Xiu. Li Zhen was furious, and he stepped on the accelerator to the end. Time flew by. Relying on his skilled driving skills, accurate judgment, and extraordinary reflexes, Tan Xiu had left Li Zhen behind in 5 minutes. And the Lamborghini he was driving was also tightly following the tail of Qi Nan's car. The road ahead is an S-shaped road, a good opportunity to overtake. After the S-shaped road, there are 2 U-shaped roads, one small and one big and one small. In other words, I have 3 chances to overtake the 2 cars in front. Tan Xiu, who had just relaxed a lot on the accelerator, once again stepped on it. While Qi Nan and Huan Yu were chasing each other, constantly sprinting and blocking each other, he accurately determined the direction and route of the 2 cars. Sprint. Tan Xiu stepped on the accelerator, passing through the gap between the 2 cars. Suddenly, he was in a straight line with the sports car driven by Huan Yu. In addition, the position of the black Lamborghini was against the side of the mountain wall, while the sports car driven by Huan Yu was against the guardrail on the cliff. Except for the last U-shaped road, I don't need to slow down even if it's S-shaped road. Tan Xiu revealed a smile. After sprinting side by side with Huan Yu for half a minute, he finally overtook Huan Yu in the S-shaped road. However, what made him feel a little helpless was that he was overtaken by Huan Yu at the small U-turn in front of him with his superb driving skills. There's still one last chance left. Tan Xiu's eyes slightly narrowed. At this moment, Qi Nan's sports car suddenly rushed up. She maintained the same speed as the Lamborghini. Inside the sports car, Qi Nan looked a bit worried. Tan Xiu's speed was too fast. She tried her best, but she could barely catch up with him. Moreover, the sports car's configuration was slightly better than her Lamborghini. It must be known. Tan Xiu was the owner of the Everlasting Feast Hall, her big boss. She would rather Tan Xiu lose the race than have an accident in the race. But Tan Xiu's speed could easily cause an accident. She couldn't let anything happen to Tan Xiu. Because if something happened to Tan Xiu, not only would it ruin her chance, but she would also be severely punished by the Everlasting Feast Hall's top management. She might even lose her life. I have to think of a way. I can't let anything happen to boss even if I have to make that sports car crash off the cliff. Thinking up to there, Qi Nan steeled her heart and stepped on the gas pedal to the bottom. After overtaking Tan Xiu's Lamborghini, she quickly chased after Huan Yu's sports car. In front of them was the largest U-shaped road, which was also the most likely place to have an accident. However, Qi Nan found that Tan Xiu's Lamborghini didn't slow down at all. A chilling light burst out from her eyes. Squeak, she squeezed the guardrail on the edge of the cliff. Tan Xiu's pupils suddenly shrunk. He could clearly see the situation of the two sports cars in front of him and faintly guessed Qi Nan's thoughts. Just as Qi Nan's sports car was half a car ahead, Huan Yu's sports car also fell into the most dangerous situation. Sigh. Tan Xiu sighed in his heart and stepped on the gas pedal to the bottom again. At the moment when Huan Yu suddenly braked, the car deviated from the track and was about to crash into the guardrail of the cliff. Tan Xiu's car slammed into the right side of Huan Yu's sports car, causing the sports car to instantly turn around. Tan Xiu's divine sense frantically wrapped the entire Lamborghini sports car. Although he only managed to avoid the danger of the Lamborghini turning over, he took advantage of the momentary gap to dash out. The tires rubbed against the ground. At the moment when Huan Yu stepped on the brakes, the sports car finally slid for dozens of meters before it came to a dangerous stop against the cliff wall. At this moment, his face was faintly pale. The crisis of death at such a close distance caused him to break out in a cold sweat. He was a professional racer, so he understood the speed of the car and the terrain just now. He knew that with Qi Nan squeezing just now, if there was no accident, his car would have crashed over the guardrail and fallen off the cliff. As for the sports car driven by Tan Xiu, after the accidental collision, the car he was driving spun back to the road. Qi Nan wanted to kill him. But Tan Xiu wanted to save him. Huan Yu, who was proficient in racing skills, had a bitter smile on his face. He just did it for money, but he didn't expect that he would almost get himself killed. He suddenly regretted agreeing to Li Zhen's participation in this race. Today's second update. Chapter 326. Swoosh. A sports car stopped in front of Huan Yu's car. Li Zhen's eyes widened in disbelief as he looked at the sports car parked beside him. He looked at Huan Yu, who was sitting in the driver's seat with a pale face. What was going on? Shouldn't Huan Yu be ranked first? Why did he stop? Could it be, is there a problem with the sports car? Li Zhen looked ahead and found that the two sports cars driven by Tan Xiu and Qi Nan were nowhere to be seen. His heart fell to the bottom at this moment. He angrily pushed open the door and ran to the front and back of Huan Yu's driver's door. He opened the door and shouted, "What's going on? Why did you stop halfway?" Huan Yu walked out of the driver's seat. He pointed at the tire marks on the ground and lightly said, "If it wasn't for Tan Xiu, I would have been dead by now." What? Li Zhen's heart shook as he looked at the surrounding car tracks. After careful observation, he was shocked to discover that Huan Yu's car had been spinning. The friction between the tires and the ground proved that the sports car had been thrown dozens of meters away before finally coming to a stop. The starting point of the mark was the guardrail of the cliff. Li Zhen strode to the front of the sports car driven by Huan Yu. When he saw that the right side of the car had been damaged from the impact with the guardrail, his expression immediately changed. "Huan Yu, your driving skills," Huan Yu shook his head and said, "It's not my driving skill. I didn't expect Qi Nan to be so cruel and merciless. She wanted to kill me." Li Zhen's heart shook, and a look of disbelief appeared in his eyes. "Why?" Huan Yu bitterly smiled, "I don't have an answer either. If I were to guess a reason, it would be that she wants to win." Li Zhen was silent. Given the choice between losing the match and letting Huan Yu die, perhaps the scales could only be balanced, with each side having a 50% chance of success. Therefore, while his heart was filled with disappointment, it was also filled with contradictions. Let's go. With a heart full of complex emotions, Li Zhen turned and walked toward his sports car. In the square, hundreds of racing enthusiasts were eagerly waiting. There were even young men and women gathered in groups of 3 to 5, discussing who would win and who would lose this race. I think that Huan Yu will definitely win the competition. He was a professional driver and had won several championships in the Asian Racing Championships. Even in the World Championships, he was the runner-up. I also think that Huan Yu has a higher chance of winning. There was a big difference between professional drivers and amateurs. Qi Nan was able to beat a few professional racers who weren't that famous, but she might not be able to beat the racer god. I don't think so. I think Qi Nan has a higher chance of winning. What do you think that guy named Tan Xiu will get? Last place? Or the second to last? He just used nearly 15 minutes to drive one lap. Although he's familiar with the track, I don't think he'll be that good on the second lap. That guy is a fool. In the end, he lost money and still made a fool of himself. I wonder where he came from. Amidst the chatter, 2 headlights shone in the distance. In an instant, the entire square became silent. Pairs of eyes stared at the approaching sports car. It's Boss G's sports car, driven by Qi Nan. That's great. Sister Nan got the first place. A young man beside Ji Mu immediately shouted after he recognized the car. That's right. In an instant, the entire square burst into an uproar. Those who were full of confidence and thought that Qi Nan was not as good as Huan Yu had their complexions turn extremely ugly. They felt that their remarks just now were really shameful. Look, there's another one behind. Everyone's eyes shifted to the second car. When they saw the black Lamborghini supercar, each and every one of them was dumbfounded, their eyes bursting with disbelief. Tan Xiu. The person driving the black Lamborghini was Tan Xiu. For a moment, everyone's eyes widened. Their eyeballs almost fell out of their eye sockets. They really couldn't believe that the second place turned out to be Tan Xiu. How is this possible? Many people shouted one after another. If Qi Nan won the first place, they could barely accept it. But Tan Xiu unexpectedly won the second place. This was unacceptable to them. After all, Tan Xiu had never raced here before. He just familiarized himself with the track, yet he could beat the Asian racer god. Wasn't this too heaven-defying? 2 minutes later, Li Zhen and Huan Yu came back in their sports car. Their complexions were a bit unsightly. Just as they got off the car and looked at Tang Xiu and Qi Nan, who had already gotten off the car, the 2 of them strode over. At this moment, the other 3 supercars arrived. Qi Nan, what's the meaning of this? With an angry face, Li Zhen sternly asked. What about me? Qi Nan indifferently said. You can't accept your loss. Li Zhen angrily shouted, this is just a car race, not a murder. Do you know that because of you, Huan Yu almost drove his car off the cliff and died? Racing itself is dangerous. Don't play if you're afraid of death. Qi Nan sneered. Huan Yu raised his hand to interrupt Li Zhen. He then looked at Tan Xiu and said, just now, thanks. Tan Xiu shook his head and lightly said, it's nothing. I just don't want people to die because of a car race. However, it's better to play less of this kind of race in the future. After all, you only have one life. How can you not wet your shoes if you often walk by the river? Huan Yu nodded and said, I'll keep that in mind. I owe you a favor this time. You can contact me if you need me in the future. Let's exchange our contact information. I don't think we'll have any more contact in the future. Tan Xiu waved and said, let's forget about exchanging contact information. To be honest, racing is indeed very exciting and thrilling. But I'm not going to play this kind of dangerous game again. After saying that, he then looked at Chi Nan and lightly said, go pay the bill. I'll wait for you in the car. All right. Chi Nan was keenly aware that Tan Xiu was a bit unhappy. However, she didn't regret her action. Although she was shocked by Tan Xiu's driving skills and the fact that he was able to save Huan Yu in such a dangerous situation, but for Tan Xiu's safety, she had to do it even if she made her boss unhappy. Her boss's life. For her at the moment, it was more important than anything else. Tan Xiu then looked at Li Zhen and lightly said, do you still remember our bet before? You lost, so you have to hide as far as you can when you see me later. Li Zhen's complexion turned pale. He angrily stared at Tan Xiu and asked in a deep voice, can you tell me that we really have no enmity before? There's no enmity between us. Tan Xiu indifferently said, I just saw you. But I don't like your bossy and domineering character. Li Zhen stared blankly for a moment. He frowned and asked, where did you see me? At the entrance of Shanghai University, Tan Xiu said. You mean this morning? Li Zhen said. All right, that's all in the past. Tan Xiu indifferently said. In short, I don't like you. Don't appear in front of me anymore. That's all. Goodbye. After that, Tan Xiu went straight back to his black Lamborghini. Jimu originally wanted to chat with Tan Xiu, but after seeing Tan Xiu enter the car, he had no choice but to give up the idea. He was ready to find an opportunity to befriend Tan Xiu in the future. Big sis Nan, what's the origin of this Tan Xiu? To think that he's worthy of you personally accompanying him here? With a curious look, Jimu asked in a whisper. You'd better not ask about his origin, said Chi Nan indifferently. Also, hurry up and handle it for me. I must go back immediately. Jimu forced a smile and said, Big sis Nan, you don't need to be so secretive. Tell me about this Tan Xiu's origin, so that I can figure out what kind of attitude I should take to make friends with him. I told you that you'd better not know about him, said Chi Nan indifferently. Unless he's willing to make friends with you. Jimu, it's not that I'm trying to scare you, but you'll be in big trouble if you dare to investigate his identity in private. If he gives the order, even I will deal with you, including your family. So don't court disaster for your family, and don't look for trouble for yourself. Jimu's expression slightly changed. He didn't believe that Chi Nan was just trying to scare him. So to speak, this Tan Xiu's identity was really terrifying. Even his Ji family couldn't afford to provoke him. Immediately, he no longer asked and quickly paid the money. 10 minutes later, Chi Nan returned to the Lamborghini with a bank card. When she sat on the front seat, she respectfully handed the bank card to Tan Xiu and said, Boss, this is the gambling money we won tonight. It's all in here. You're the champion, so the money is naturally yours. Tan Xiu shook his head lightly. Boss, I'm here to accompany you today, so this money should be yours, said Chi Nan hesitantly. I don't need this money, said Tan Xiu with furrowed brows. I just want to tell you one thing. Seeing that Tan Xiu insisted on not accepting it, Chi Nan had no choice but to put the money away and respectfully asked, Please say it. Before I say it, I want to ask you a question, said Tan Xiu. You did it on purpose in the previous race, didn't you? Chi Nan was very smart and naturally understood what Tan Xiu was asking. She hesitated for a moment before she nodded and said, Yes, I did it on purpose. Why? Tan Xiu's expression was a bit cold and indifferent. Your speed is very fast at this moment, boss, said Chi Nan seriously. I can't let you be in danger. If you want to win, you must make that guy get out of the way. There's only one way to make him get out of the way, and that's to make him die. Anyhow, you did it all for me, said Tan Xiu. Yes, replied Chi Nan with a straight face. A trace of a forced smile appeared on Tan Xiu's handsome face as he shook his head and said, Forget it. Since you have such a mentality, then I won't say anything more. But remember, don't easily kill people in the future. Although you have undergone extremely strict training and have killed a lot of people with your own hands, every life has its own meaning. But every life has its own meaning, and being kind to others is always better than being evil to others. Today is the last day. This is the 3rd chapter, and there will be 3 more chapters to be updated later. Brothers and sisters, don't miss it. _. Chapter 327. Being kind to others. Being evil. Chi Nan was very clear about this concept, but she didn't care about it at all. In her mind, those who threatened the everlasting feast hall were enemies, and those who threatened her life were also enemies. She would never be soft-hearted toward her enemies. As for those who were neither enemies nor her own people, their life and death had nothing to do with her. She also knew a bit about Tan Xiu. She felt that Tan Xiu was somewhat insincere, which was very inconsistent with his previous style of doing things. Can I ask you a question, boss? Chi Nan hesitated inwardly, but she couldn't help but ask. Go ahead. Tan Xiu said. Boss, since ancient times, there has been a distinction between good and evil cannot coexist. Can you tell me what is good? What is evil? The distinction between good and evil lies in the human heart, Tan Xiu said lightly. A good heart and good deeds are righteous, while an evil heart and evil deeds are evil. Man is a contradictory individual. In fact, both good and evil are in the human heart. The essential difference between good and evil lies in the human heart. But I want to know, boss, are you righteous or evil? Asked Chi Nan again. Tan Xiu glanced at her and calmly said, I'm evil to my enemies, but I'm righteous to my own people. Let me give you an example. I've killed a lot of people in Hong Kong before, but those people were not good people. If they didn't provoke me, I wouldn't have bothered to pay attention to them. But since they provoked me and wanted me to have a miserable end, I naturally have to fight back and even kill them. But I'm kind to ordinary people, those who have no malice toward me and won't harm me. Even if it's within my power, I'll still help those kind people. For example, I have an identity as a doctor at Star City Chinese Medical Hospital in Shuangqing Province. Chi Nan stared at Tan Xiu in a daze. She never thought that Tan Xiu, who had just been admitted to university, would be a doctor at a Chinese medical hospital. Boss. I got it. Chi Nan repeatedly pondered over Tan Xiu's character and finally came to the conclusion that her boss was a good person. It's good that you understand. Tan Xiu nodded. We will definitely have great power in the future, but even with power, we can't treat ordinary people as ants. In fact, even in the martial Dao realm, the truly prestigious martial Dao experts did not only cultivate martial arts, but also cultivated their hearts. There's a phrase that I think is very good, martial virtue. What is martial virtue? Martial. Stopping war was martial. Martial arts was the ability to stop fighting and stop fighting. It was also the foundation of strengthening one's body. Virtue was based on benevolence and righteousness. The above is the proper conduct of words and deeds. To sum it up, it is the behavior characteristics of martial arts and the words and deeds of those who practice martial arts with benevolence and righteousness as the standard. The Chinese civilization has 5,000 years of history and has a long history of martial arts. Only by tempering one's temperament and stabilizing one's confidence could one enter the next level and reach the level of a grandmaster. In fact, you can even continuously improve while cultivating your heart, and reach a realm where you can break through the limits of ordinary people. After saying that, Tan Xiu turned his head to look outside the window and sighed, among the masses of people, there are strong and weak. Bullying the weak will only bring trouble to oneself. Only by being kind to others and maintaining one's original heart can one go further and reduce the troubles on the path of cultivation. What you said makes sense, boss. Chi Nan agreed. To put it simply, having more friends is always better than having more enemies. I'll keep your words in mind. As long as no one attacks our everlasting feast hall and no one hurts the people I care about, I won't take their lives. It's good that you understand. Tan Xiao nodded. A smile appeared on Qi Nan's face as she said, "Boss, you really don't want the gambling money you won tonight?" "That's your win, not mine," Tan Xiao said with a smile. "If you must give it to me, then consider it as the welfare I'm giving to this excellent subordinate of yours." "You're really generous, boss." "It's my fortune to work for you," said Qi Nan with a charming smile. "Don't flatter me. Concentrate on driving." Tan Xiao couldn't help but laugh. "Also, contact Tian Li after you go back. If she has left the Everlasting Feast Hall's HQ in Jingmen Island, tell her to come to Shanghai." "I'll contact her later," said Qi Nan. Blue Star Villa Complex. Several security guards were standing guard at the gate. Every vehicle entering and exiting must swipe a card here, and those without an access card must be registered. Creak, a black Lamborghini was parked at the gate. "Hello, if you don't have an access card, you need to register before you can enter," said a security guard respectfully after saluting. As a security guard in this upscale villa complex, he was naturally aware that the people living in this villa complex were either rich or expensive. Some sports cars worth millions of yuan were often entering and exiting. Tan Xiao opened the door and got off, saying, "Give me an access card." The security guard stared blankly for a moment. He had seen Tan Xiao yesterday, so he naturally knew that Tan Xiao was the owner of Villa Number 9. However, he didn't expect that Tan Xiao, who also took a taxi in the morning, would unexpectedly have a beautiful woman driving a Lamborghini to send him back in the evening. "Hello, Mr. Tang. Is this the license plate for the access card?" Tan Xiao stared blankly for a moment before he shook his head and said, "No, it's not this car. This is my friend's car. My car is in the villa. As for the license plate, I didn't pay attention to it." The strange expression in the security guard's eyes turned thicker as he said, "Mr. Tang, you need to register the license plate to apply for an access card. Generally, you need to contact the owner of the villa complex if you don't know the license plate. If you want to apply for an access card, you need to know your license plate number." "Alright, then." Tan Xiao forced a smile. "Can you come with me? I have a few cars in my garage, so help me apply for a few access cards." "About this, alright." The security guard replied and spoke a few words to the security guards behind him. Then, he turned to Tan Xiao and said, "Mr. Tang, please register this young lady. You can go in first. I'll drive the patrol car and will be there shortly." Tan Xiao hesitated for a moment before he turned to Qi Nan and said, "Just send me here. I'll take the patrol car directly." "Understood." Qi Nan replied. Under Tan Xiao's watchful eyes, she reversed the car, turned around, and then drove to the road not far away. "I'll have to trouble you to come with me," Tan Xiao said with a smile. "I'll cooperate with you if you need any information." "All right." The security guard didn't expect that Tan Xiao would be so easygoing, so the smile on his face turned a lot brighter. After arriving at Villa Number 9, Tan Xiao opened the villa's door with the access card and then came to the garage with the security guard. As the electric door slowly opened, 4 cars appeared in front of the security guard under the bright lights. Hiss! The security guard was well informed and often saw luxury cars coming in and out of the villa complex, but he couldn't help but gasp when he saw these 4 cars parked in the villa's garage. It was shocking. Never once did he expect that Tan Xiao would have so many luxury cars. There were only 4 parking spaces in the garage. He simply couldn't imagine how many more luxury cars there would be if there were more parking spaces in this villa. An Audi A8. A BMW 7 Series. A Ferrari supercar. A Bentley Toyota. Each of these 4 cars was worth at least a few million. The security guard turned to look at Tan Xiao and said with a forced smile, "Mr. Tang, you have so many cars. Why did you take a taxi the first time you came and when you left this morning?" "I'm a student from the nearby Shanghai University," Tan Xiao said with a smile. Driving these cars is too eye-catching. A student? The security guard's lips squirmed a few times. He was startled and speechless. A few minutes later, the security guard registered the license plates of the 4 cars and asked for Tan Xiu's ID card. The shock on his face hadn't completely subsided before he left. Tan Xiu pressed the button to close the garage door and went straight to the 2nd floor of the villa. After taking a bath and comfortably changing into pajamas, he dialed Mu Qingping's number. Tan Xiu. Mu Qingping's laughter came out of the phone. Have you packed everything? Tan Xiu asked. When are you going to Nine Dragons Island? Everything is ready. Mu Qingping said with a smile. Tomorrow morning, I'll take Chaimi to Hong Kong and then transfer to Saipan. All right. Tan Xiu said. I'll give you a phone number. Contact the other party before you board the plane. Tell her to pick you up. When you arrive in Saipan, someone will pick you up and directly send you to Nine Dragons Island. Nine Dragons Island is now under construction, and you have the absolute right to speak, so you must manage it well. Mu Qingping said with all seriousness, don't worry. I'll definitely do it. Are my parents in Southgate Town? Tan Xiu asked with a smile. Mu Qingping said, no, it seems that something happened. They ate here for dinner, but they left in a hurry before the meal was finished. Something happened? Tan Xiu's complexion changed as he said, all right, I'll call them to ask about the situation. After that, Tan Xiu hung up and directly dialed his mother's cell number. Half a minute later, the call was connected and Su Lingyun's voice came out of the phone. Xiu, why haven't you slept yet? Mom, Sister Ping said something happened at home. What is it? Tan Xiu asked. Su Lingyun was silent for a few seconds before she said with a forced smile, let your dad tell you. He knows it better than me. Hello, Xiu. Tang Yunda's voice came out of the phone. Dad, what happened? Tan Xiu asked. Tang Yunda forced a smile and said, our family's business in the south has been attacked by hostile families. Even the business line of your second grandpa's manor has been cut off. In the conflict, 3 people trained by our family died and more than a dozen were seriously injured. Your first uncle has rushed over there. Where are you and Mom? Tan Xiu asked. We just arrived in the imperial capital by plane and haven't seen your grandpa yet. Tang Yunda said. Chapter 328. Tell me the specific situation, asked Tan Xiu. Maybe I can do something about it. Tang Yunda was silent for a moment before he slowly said, Xiu, the Tang family is very unstable now, but we can barely cope with it. At worst, we'll just suffer some losses. The other party won't dare to launch a full-scale attack because a starving camel is still bigger than a horse. They will suffer heavy losses if they want to topple our family. A starving camel is still bigger than a horse? What does that mean? Tan Xiu furrowed his brows and asked, I don't understand what you mean, Dad. What do you mean by a starving camel is still bigger than a horse? As far as I know, the Tang family is among the super families in the imperial capital. Even if we can't rank first, it shouldn't be a problem for us to be in the top 3, right? Had it been more than a decade ago, perhaps our Tang family could be ranked in the top 3. Tang Yunda forced a smile. But since your grandpa's asthma attacks have become more frequent and the leaders have changed, our Tang family has become much weaker. The problem in the imperial capital is very complicated, especially our enemies. They took advantage of your grandpa's poor health to make a lot of fuss and pressure us step by step. Although our Tang family can be ranked in the top 10 among the big families in the imperial capital, it's far from being qualified to be in the top 3. Tan Xiu furrowed his brows and asked, you mean, the enemy is strong and we're weak? That's right. That's the situation. Tang Yunda forced a smile. Everyone has been safe and sound in the past few years, each developing their own family. But recently, our enemy family suddenly gained the support of another medium-sized force, so their power has increased a lot. Therefore, they're now ready to move. Although they don't dare to blatantly tear all pretense of cordiality with us, they still have some small frictions. Which family is the enemy? Asked Tan Xiu. The Yao family. Tang Yunda answered. Tan Xiu firmly remembered this family and said, Dad, I can ignore the family's affairs for now. But you must tell me promptly if the family needs anything. The power that I possess should be much greater than what you understand. Whether it's military force or financial resources. Tang Yunda was confused and asked, What force? Haven't you told me everything you should tell me? Tan Xiu said, Dad, don't ask now. Anyway, let's keep in touch and let me know if you have any problems. By the way, I haven't asked, which city did the Yao family and our Tang family clash in? Guangyang and Fukang, said Tang Yunda. I see. Tan Xiu nodded. You and my mom should take care of yourselves. Don't worry. Tang Yunda said. After hanging up the phone, Tan Xiu's eyes flashed with coldness. Although he didn't have much affection for the Tang family was still his family. He knew how the Tang family felt about him. Therefore, he had already accepted the Tang family. If the other party was really arrogant, he wouldn't mind using the Everlasting Feast Hall's power. Furthermore, once the Everlasting Feast Hall's power was mobilized, it would be a bloody storm. Wearing pajamas, Tan Xiu stood up from the bed, walked to the wine cabinet, opened the door, and took out a bottle of red wine. Although he wasn't very fond of red wine, it wouldn't hurt to drink some. After pouring a glass of red wine, he took the crystal glass and went to the balcony. Looking at the swaying shadows of the trees outside, Tan Xiu secretly sighed inwardly. The power he had was still too small. If he was given a few more years to develop, let alone the Yao family in the imperial capital, he was confident that he would be invincible even if he had to contend with all the families in the country. Talents. Experts. A cold light flashed in Tan Xiu's eyes as he silently pondered. Where should he go to find a group of talents? A few minutes later, after he finished drinking the red wine in the crystal glass, a faint smile appeared on his handsome face. The immortal world was a big world. Earth was a small world. A big world and a small world had common characteristics. Tan Xiu once had a great career in the immortal world. He owned a huge territory and recruited a lot of subordinates. Although he had handed over the territories he once controlled after his power reached the supreme level in the immortal world and let his subordinates manage them, he had, after all, experienced it. Therefore, he already had an idea. Prison. The black market. Tan Xiu believed that there were definitely a lot of capable people in the prison. In the immortal world, in order to cultivate a group of experts to help him inquire about the immortal world, Tan Xiu secretly selected a group of people from the prisons of the large countries in the immortal world. These people were cruel and merciless, each with their own abilities. Although there was a problem with their temperament, Tan Xiu had magical powers and secret techniques that could control their life and death. Therefore, more than half of the territory of the immortal world had an intelligence network controlled by Tan Xiu, and many of them even became powerful after his training. Although there were no super experts who had reached the supreme level in the immortal world, there were still some people who stood out and their strength made billions of immortals afraid. There was a black market in the immortal world, and he believed that there was also a black market on Earth. Although the black market on Earth was not as arrogant as the black market in the immortal world, he could choose some people with good martial arts from many underground black market boxing arenas. Half an hour later, Tan Xiu already had a clear idea in his mind. However, since he had now arrived at the University of Shanghai and Gu Yan, who was in a coma at the Everlasting Feast Hall's HQ in Jingmen Island, could wake up at any time, he could only suppress the idea of recruiting talents at the bottom of his heart. I'll take some time to go everywhere after everything has completely stabilized. Aside from the Everlasting Feast Hall's people, I have no other experts to offer, so I have to be cautious in many things. Tan Xiu thought inwardly. At the imperial capital. Inside the Tang family's ancestral residence, Tang Guisheng frowned as he flipped through the documents in his hand, while Tang Guishou sat opposite him with a face full of anger. Dad, the Yao family's Starlight Group has cut off our commercial supply channels in Guangyang and Fukang. Our Tang family's vassal, the Bai family, has also been fiercely sniped. The investigation on the Bai family's patriarch, Bai Yang, has been stopped. If we don't fight back immediately, I'm afraid we won't be able to keep Bai Yang. Tang Min, who stood next to the two men, eyes full of anger. Tang Guisheng slowly raised his head and said, the Yao family has been secretly laying out their plans in Guangyang and Fukang for several years. Apart from the two biggest families who are now maintaining their neutrality, several other families have secretly colluded with the Yao family. Unless the two biggest families in these two provinces come forward to help us, it will be very difficult for us to fight back. If we can't do it on the surface, then we'll use force in private, said Tang Min coldly. I've trained a lot of people over the years, and each of them has a hidden identity. Even if they make a move, no one will investigate our Tang family. The Yao family and the other families in Guangyang and Fukang are not stupid. Tang Guisheng shook his head. Even if they don't have any direct evidence, I'm afraid they'll guess that it was our Tang family who instructed them to do it. Once they use all their intelligence network, it won't be too difficult for them to investigate the relationship between you and the person who did it. Even if they investigate it, so what? Tang Min coldly snorted. We'll let them know that our Tang family is not to be trifled with. If they really want to shed all pretense of cordiality and fight with us, then we'll accompany them to the end. At the side, although Tang Guishou's heart was full of anger, he still maintained his rationality and said, Tang Min, remember this, a lack of forbearance in small matters will spoil great plans. If we shed all pretense of cordiality with the Yao family now and fight each other to the death, we won't be able to get any benefits, and it's very likely that we'll be targeted by the other families who are eyeing us covetously. At that time, even if our Tang family isn't destroyed by the Yao family, the other families will definitely take advantage of our misfortune. That's right. Tang Guisheng nodded. What our Tang family needs to do now is to slowly develop and strengthen our own strength. I was sick before, so I had no time to manage a lot of things. Our enemies thought that I couldn't hold on any longer, so they were getting restless. But now that my illness has been cured, it won't be a problem for me to hold on for another 10 years. Why did I conceal the fact that my illness has been cured? It's because I wanted to endure and gain some time for our Tang family. The plan we implemented last month has already started in secret. If we have a few more years, I can guarantee that we'll be able to catch up with the Yao family with the huge resources we've invested. But the Yao family is pressing us too hard in the two southern provinces. Tang Min forced a smile. If this goes on, our forces in those two provinces will be completely eradicated by them. I'll contact second brother. He has been enjoying himself in Jingmen Island for so many years, so it's time for him to come out and walk around. Even if our forces in the two southern provinces are completely uprooted, we can't let the Yao family and those small families have a good time. Do you want me to rush over there? Asked Tang Min quickly. No need for the time being. Tang Guisheng shook his head. Your big brother should be able to stall for some time if he goes there personally. That's right, I've already told Yunda about the situation at home. I didn't expect that he also left some secret moves in the past. If it really doesn't work, we can also use some of his hidden forces. Tang Min stared blankly for a moment and asked in astonishment, my second brother? Isn't he? There are some things you don't know, said Tang Guisheng. Your second brother and second sister-in-law are on the way to the imperial capital. They should be arriving soon. You'll know when they come. Tang Min was somewhat curious. She didn't understand what kind of secret moves her second brother could arrange after he directly turned into a vegetable. Ring, 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 Tang Guisheng's cell phone on the tea table suddenly rang. Tang Guisheng raised his brows as he grabbed the phone and said, What's up? Dad, the Starlight Group's HQ in Guangyang has been burned down. The fire is very fierce and there are still more than a dozen security guards who haven't escaped. The person in charge has already called the fire department, but they haven't been dispatched yet. It's been almost 20 minutes since the fire started. Tang Yunpeng's angry voice came from the phone. Chapter 329. Tang Guisheng's expression changed and a bit of anger could be seen on his face. The Starlight Group was a company controlled by the Tang family that brought them billions of income every year. It could be said that the Starlight Group was one of the three major sources of income for the Tang family. Once it was destroyed, it would bring huge losses to the Tang family. Who did it? We haven't investigated it clearly yet, said Tang Yunpeng. The security guards trapped in the HQ have contacted the security personnel in the monitoring room. We haven't found out who did it yet. Furthermore, the entire Starlight Group's building will be burned down if the fire department doesn't arrive soon. At that time, the dozens of security guards trapped inside will also be buried in the sea of fire. Tang Guisheng took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "Contact the security personnel inside immediately. Leave 2 of them to continue searching for clues and tell the rest to immediately find a way to withdraw. Also, tell those who stay and their families that we'll give them the best treatment and provide them with the best life." Understood. Tang Yunpeng replied and immediately hung up the phone. Tang Guisheng put the phone back on the tea table and fell into silence. His eyes flickered with a shrewd light as he silently pondered on how to resolve this matter. "Big brother, let me go too," said Tang Guisheng in a deep voice. Tang Guisheng slowly looked up and shook his head. "You can't go, and neither can I. If we can't sit still, our enemies will think that we can't afford the loss. At that time, their attacks on us will be even more savage." At this time, 2 people came in from the door. They were Tang Yunda and Su Lingyun. "Dad, what's the situation now?" Tang Yunda went straight to Tang Guisheng and asked in a hurried tone. "The Starlight Group's HQ has been burned down," said Tang Guisheng in a deep voice. "If my guess is correct, it's them who did it." Tang Yunda's expression changed and he asked in a deep voice, "Do you want me to go there?" "No need for the time being." Tang Guisheng shook his head and said, "Your big brother has already rushed there. But tell me, what's the scale of the secret plan you arranged in the past?" "It's inconvenient to move in Saipan," said Tang Yunda. "It's a critical moment for him to advance. Once he succeeds, he'll become the supreme leader of Saipan. He'll even have several other distinguished statuses. At that time, the benefits would be huge. We can make a move on Macau. After so many years of development, the company there has a capital of nearly 100 billion, and they have also secretly trained many loyal subordinates." Tang Guisheng narrowed his eyes and asked, "Let your big brother handle it first. If he couldn't do anything about the situation there, then he would use the people in Macau first. The forces that our Tang clan is secretly nurturing cannot act rashly for the time being. Unless it is a life and death crisis, they must remain hidden." "No problem." Tang Yunda nodded. "But what about Starlight Group? The headquarters building has been burned down. Even if we move to a new location, I'm afraid that business will be delayed for a long time." Tang Guisheng said, "If it doesn't work, we'll completely withdraw from Guangyang and Fukang. Although the Starlight Group's headquarters is set up in Guangyang province, there are still a few Starlight Group branches in the surrounding provinces. When the time comes, we will temporarily use the branches as the Starlight Group's headquarters." Tang Yunda nodded. Suddenly, his expression slightly moved as he recalled what his son told him on the way here. He hesitated and said, "Dad, Xiao just contacted me." Tang Yunda furrowed his brows and asked in a deep voice, "Did you tell him about the situation at home?" Tang Yunda nodded and said, "He's a member of our Tang family. Since he took the initiative to ask, I have no need to hide it from him. Besides, he has grown up, so I don't want to hide it from him." Tang Guisheng snorted coldly, "Even if he has grown up, he's still a child in our eyes." Let him finish his studies well and he doesn't need to worry about the Tang family's difficulties. Our Tang family owes him too much. We just need to give him the best, eat the best, and everything else is the best. We'll take care of the other problems. For the first time, Su Lingyun interjected, Dad, I think Yinda is right. Xiao may be young, but he's very sensible. He has the blood of the Tang family in him, so he must advance and retreat together with them. There's no need to hide this matter from him. Besides, I heard from him that he has made a lot of money now. I'll tell him if there's a need here. Tang Guosheng looked angry, but he didn't flare up in the end. If these words were said by his son, Tang Yinda, he would have scolded him. But it was said by his daughter-in-law who had been losing money for 20 years, so he couldn't be angry. He could only suppress his anger and said, It's true that Xiao is a member of the Tang family, but he's still studying now. He does need to advance and retreat together with the Tang family, but not at this time. After he finishes his studies and graduates from the university, I'll personally arrange the best path for him if he wants to. He wants to do business, and the Tang family's business power will be handed over to him slowly. If he wants to enter politics, I'll pave the golden road for him. Remember, it's not now. Tang Yinda and Su Lingyun exchanged glances. They could feel their father's love for his son from his tone. However, Tang Yinda was, after all, a man of iron bones. Even though he was in a coma for 20 years, it still didn't wear away his courage and courage. Furthermore, he had been in a coma for 20 years, the loneliness and darkness that could drive countless people crazy, yet he had endured it with his tenacity. Hence, he was very calm now. Dad, you can express your thoughts, but I also want to tell you Xiao's thoughts, said Tang Yinda seriously. Tang Guosheng stared blankly and asked, What thoughts does Xiao have? Xiao told me to immediately tell him if the Tang family needs anything, said Tang Yinda. He also said that the forces he has are not the ones I know. Though, what I know is already shocking to me. Tang Guosheng frowned and said, What forces does Xiao have? Isn't it just his business in Star City? It's more than just business. Tang Yinda forced a smile. Although I haven't specifically calculated how much wealth Xiao has now, it's at least no less than 3 or 4 billion yuan. Tang Guosheng stared blankly, and so did Tang Guoshou. Even Tang Min was dumbfounded as she looked at Tang Yinda with an incredulous expression. 3 or 4 billion yuan? How was that possible? Tang Guosheng had sent some people to investigate the total assets of the magnificent Tang Corporation, and it was at most 1 billion yuan. How could it suddenly increase several times? Tang Guosheng suddenly realized something and said, You mean, you know that Xiao has 3 or 4 billion yuan in assets, but he also has forces you don't know about? That's right. Tang Yinda nodded. Then tell me, what other assets does Xiao have besides the magnificent Tang Corporation? Asked Tang Guosheng in a deep voice. Xiao bought an island in the Pacific Ocean, said Tang Yinda. He spent 2.5 billion yuan at that time. He borrowed the money from his disciple, Qin Zhizhong. However, I don't know where he got the 2.5 billion yuan, as he has already returned all of it to Qin Zhizhong. Moreover, the thing he had been busy with abroad recently was the reconstruction of that island. I think he must have spent a lot of money to rebuild the island. Tang Guosheng was shocked. He actually bought an island in the Pacific Ocean? Why did he buy an island? Xiao said that it will be our Tang family's headquarters in the future, said Tang Yinda. The Pacific Ocean? Island? Base camp? Not only was Tang Guosheng shocked by Tang Yinda's words, but even Tang Guoshou and Tang Min were also shocked. Tan Xiao said that it would be the Tang family's headquarters. Could it be that the Tang family would not be able to stay in the country in the future? Would they have to hide in the vast sea? After a long while, Tang Guosheng waved his hand and said in a deep voice, No matter what forces Xiao has, he's too young. Even if he does, he won't be able to help our Tang family now. Therefore, our top priority is to solve the current crisis first. Shanghai. Blue Star Villa Complex. Tan Xiu didn't immediately rest, nor did he directly cultivate. After pondering for a long time, he dialed Gu Xiaoshue's cell number. "Are you looking for me, Grand Master?" Gu Xiaoshue's light voice came from the phone. "Xiaoshue, I have something to ask you," said Tan Xiu. "Please speak, Grand Master," said Gu Xiaoshue. "Is there anyone from our everlasting feast hall in Guangyang and Fukang?" asked Tan Xiu. "Yes, there is a branch of Grand Fortune Jewelry and Prudential Real Estate Group. However, there are only a few core members of our everlasting feast hall in these two provinces. How many experts can the everlasting feast hall dispatch now?" asked Tan Xiu. "Everyone can be dispatched at any time," said Gu Xiaoshue with a smile. "I can immediately dispatch them to Guangyang and Fukang if you have any orders, Grand Master." "That's right, I just remembered something. There is someone in Fukang who owes our everlasting feast hall a favor." "Who is it?" asked Tan Xiu. "It's the Huang family in Fukang. In the past, Master saved the life of the current Huang family's patriarch. The reason why the Huang family's patriarch could become the patriarch was also because of Master. Therefore, the Huang family will fully support you if you need it, boss." "Is the Huang family a big force in Fukang?" asked Tan Xiu. "Even if it's not the first, it's at least the second." Gu Xiaoshue said, "The Huang family's patriarch would come to our Jingmen Island's everlasting feast hall's HQ every year on the first day of the new year. He has always wanted to see my master, but he always returns disappointed." But what?" asked Tan Xiu. "To make the Huang family feel grateful to our everlasting feast hall, I once issued an order to send 3 outstanding members of their family to our Jingmen Island's everlasting feast hall every 3 years to learn. It can be said that our everlasting feast hall has trained a lot of experts in the past 10 years. Since the Huang family is there, then our everlasting feast hall's people don't need to act," said Tan Xiu in a deep voice. "My family has encountered a bit of trouble, so we need people from Guangyang and Fukang to play a role. Give me the contact information of the Huang family's patriarch." "All right. It's the last day of the month. Brothers and sisters, please leave your monthly tickets. Quiet night, thanks." Chapter 330. It was the last 20 hours or so. Her position on the monthly votes list had been overtaken again and again. Quiet Night was almost numb to it. Seeing how others could get 500 to 600 or even 1,000 votes with just a simple shout, Quiet Night could only get a pitiful few votes even if she shouted until her throat was hoarse. Quiet Night was too ashamed to ask for monthly votes. However, if she shouted once, she would still get a few monthly votes. If she didn't shout twice, she might end up with 0. After weighing the pros and cons, Quiet Night decided to be thick-skinned and open another chapter. People had to learn to be content with what they had. Otherwise, they would die early. This month had been almost 30 days. Quiet Night's nerves had been highly tensed, and her body was also in a highly overdrawn state. Then, she tragically fell ill yesterday. She had a high fever, diarrhea, and cold sweat. Illness came like a landslide, and Quiet Night collapsed in an instant. Just as Quiet Night endured all kinds of discomfort and persevered until the 3rd hour, something even more unlucky happened today. When Quiet Night was sorting out this month's invoices, she realized that several thousand yuan's worth of invoices had disappeared. That was a whole 10,000 yuan, which was enough for Quiet Night's living expenses for a year. She had no monthly votes. Life was difficult. Quiet Night really couldn't hold on any longer. Quiet Night's only hope now was the monthly votes in the hands of her brothers and sisters. Every single one of your monthly votes could give Quiet Night endless strength, allowing her to persevere. Brothers and sisters, please check your personal study rooms. If there are any monthly votes, please throw them to Quiet Night. We must persevere. Quiet Night has worked hard for 30 days, and so have all of us. The last day is the time to test our results. On account of Quiet Night's 30 days of outburst, I beg for monthly votes to support me. Quiet Night pays her respects. Chapter 331. Tan Xiu got the phone number of the Fukang province's Huang family's patriarch, but he did not immediately contact the other party. He thought for a long time and did not give this number to the Tang family. Now, he didn't know how far the situation had developed, and if he rashly interfered, it would make him look like he wasn't calm. Furthermore, the Tang and Yao families weren't just business families. Most importantly, they were political families. This was a contest that involved the upper echelons of the domestic political scene. Once he intervened, there would be all kinds of trouble. Good steel should be used on the blade's edge. He was like a piece of good steel, while the conflict between the Tang and Huang families was still in its early stages. It was far from a life and death situation. Only when the Tang clan was on the verge of suffering a great loss, a loss that would cause the Tang clan to suffer a great blow, would he brazenly strike. However, since the Huang family and the everlasting feast hall had a deep relationship, he could meet the Huang family's head first. After some consideration, Tan Xiu decided to contact the patriarch of the Huang family the next day. He collected all his thoughts and returned to his bed to cultivate. Right now, his cultivation had improved greatly, and he had already reached the peak of the flesh-strengthening stage. If he made another breakthrough, he would be at the bone-altering stage. Tan Xiu did not stay in the raw meat stage for a long time. That was because he had benefited from opportunities. As Tan Xiu sat cross-legged and cultivated, the power of the stars in the sky surged layer by layer, rushing towards Tan Xiu like a tidal wave. Now, the speed at which he absorbed the power of the stars was several times faster than when he was stuck at the skin-strengthening stage. Unfortunately, the heaven and earth energy in Shanghai was extremely sparse, causing Tan Xiu's cultivation speed to be far slower than when he was on Nine Dragons Island. The heavenly art of cosmic genesis was divided into 3 stages. The first stage was the star's tyrannical body. The star's tyrannical body was further divided into chi training, skin strengthening, flesh growth, bones transformation, meridians transformation, marrows transformation, viscera transformation, circulating chi and blood, and 9 controlled Dan steps. Now, he was at the peak of the flesh rejuvenation realm. Although he could not compare to the golden elixir realm of the past, he was not far from it. He was confident that once he broke through to the bone transformation realm, he would be comparable to the golden core realm. As his cultivation level increased, he was able to use more and more secret skills. However, in today's modern society, the secret skills he had mastered were not of much use. It seems that if I want to improve my strength quickly, I'll have to cultivate on Nine Dragons Island. After cultivating for 4 hours, Tan Xiu slowly opened his eyes, and a bitter smile appeared on his handsome face. The result of 4 hours of cultivation was almost the same as half an hour of cultivation on Nine Dragons Island. 8 o'clock in the morning. Tan Xiu woke up from his sleep and washed up refreshed. When he went downstairs, he realized that there was no one else in the villa except for him. This wasn't Southgate Town, where there was no housekeeper to help him prepare breakfast. Should we hire a nanny? Tan Xiu hesitated for a moment, then decided to find a housekeeping company and choose a good-natured and hardworking nanny. Go to school. Buy something to eat on the way. Tan Xiu smiled bitterly and shook his head. After leaving the villa area, he passed by a nearby business district and bought some food in a shop. He didn't take a taxi and just ate as he walked. Although the 7th was the time for military training, Tan Xiu didn't want to participate in it. University military training was simply child's play for him. Going there to experience life was nothing but suffering. He had already made up his mind that he would go to the classroom today and then look for Lu Bai. Since he was the deputy dean of the history department of Shanghai University, he should have the ability to help him escape from the military training program. On the 4th floor of Block B of the teaching building. When Tan Xiu arrived at the classroom, he found that there were only 20 to 30 people scattered in the classroom. Yu Kai, Hu Qingsong, Zhao Yang, and two other students who drank with him yesterday were gathered together, talking and laughing about some topic. Big Bro Tang. Upon seeing Tan Xiu's arrival, Hu Qingsong's eyes suddenly lit up as he vigorously waved his arm and called out. His voice was very loud. Almost at this moment, the 20 to 30 students in the classroom all looked at Tang Xiu at the same time. They had heard of Tan Xiu's name after they came to the school. Not only did they know that Tan Xiu was the top science scholar in Shuangqing province, but they also knew that Tan Xiu's former high school class teacher was their current class teacher, Han Qinggu. Tan Xiu faintly smiled at all the students and strode to Hu Qingsong's side. Then, he said with a smile, "Didn't you say to gather in the classroom at 9:30? Why are you here so early? What else can it be? It's fresh." Yu Kai said. It's the first day that the whole class meets. Although nearly half of the students haven't arrived yet, they still want to see if there are any beauties among our classmates. It's a pity. Tan Xiu couldn't help laughing. When he came to the classroom, he found that there were only 6 girls in the class, and they all looked very ordinary. We're here to study. If you want to pick up girls, just go to the bar outside the school. With your qualifications, it should be very easy for you to hook up with some girls who hang out in the nightclubs, Tan Xiu said with a smile. Yu Kai waved his hand and said, I'm not interested in those girls who can casually go to a hotel with men. Don't you think that enjoying those girls is like picking up garbage? Picking up garbage? The group of people burst into laughter. Tan Xiu rolled his eyes and said with a funny and angry expression, You think you're picking up garbage, but others think you're picking it up cheap. You. A full man doesn't know the hunger of a hungry man. You can ask Hu Qingsong if you don't believe me. If it's him, will he think he's picking up garbage? Absolutely not. Hu Qingsong immediately said. I'll think that I'm very handsome and manly. I'll happily take those girls to get a hotel room. Yu Kai rolled his eyes and snorted, If you want such girls, then come with me to the nightclubs later. I'll help you hook up some of them. But Big Bro Tang, you haven't taught us how to pick up girls yet. I really don't know how to pick up girls. Tan Xiu shook his head. If you really want to learn, I'll buy some love secret books to read. I'll immediately teach you how to pick up girls from them. Of course, if you think it's too troublesome, I'll directly buy the books for you to read. Are you kidding me? Yu Kai angrily said. What if you don't have the real ability to pick up girls? How can our teacher Han be so eager to come to Shanghai University to teach after you graduated from high school? She must have used her connections to come to our history department and become our class's teacher in charge. Tan Xiu directly turned his head to the side. Since he couldn't explain it clearly, he didn't feel like explaining it. Han Qinggu had her own life, and he had his own. The two of them only had a teacher-student relationship, so how could there be a relationship between them? Although she looked very much like his wife in the immortal world. But that was only their appearance. He didn't believe that Han Qinggu had the slightest relationship with that woman. Hu Qingsong also came over and said with a sneaky expression, Big Bro Tang, believe it. I came back with teacher Han last night and found a special situation. What situation? Tan Xiu stared blankly and asked with a confused expression. When we came back last night, teacher Han's eyes lit up every time she mentioned you, said Hu Qingsong. Even the smile on her beautiful face turned a bit thicker. I dare say that teacher Han really has feelings for you. Even if you're not together now, as long as you're bold enough to express your love to her, she'll be in your arms. Fuck off. Tan Xiu snappily cursed with a smile. Did you hear that, Big Bro Tang? Yu Kai sighed. Did you hear what Hu Qingsong just said? Miss Han has taken a fancy to you. You're the one who pretended that nothing happened. You don't know how much you want to hold that devastatingly beautiful teacher Han in your arms when you're not in front of us. Tan Xiu suddenly realized that these guys around him were all freaking stud horses reincarnated. Their heads were full of love and affection. Didn't they know that there were many other emotions besides sex? Speak of the devil and he will appear. Just as they were talking about Han Qingwu's beautiful figure appeared outside the classroom. Her long and elegant hair fluttered in the breeze. Along with the sound of her slapping, everyone's eyes instantly fell on her. She wore a beautiful dress that set off her delicate and perfect body. Coupled with her beautiful face, she was simply like a goddess in the minds of countless boys. Han Qingwu gently stroked the long hair on her forehead and said with a smile, "Our class has a total of 48 students, and 28 of them have arrived. There are still 20 who haven't arrived yet. However, the time to report to the campus is in the next few days, so I'm sure the others will come soon. Now, the students who have already arrived, please come to the podium and introduce yourselves. I'll go first." Yukai raised his hand and then strode to the podium. He was very bold and very open-minded. With a smiling expression, his eyes swept over all the students. He cleared his throat and said, "Hello, students. I'm Yukai. I'm a Shanghai native, 21 years old, and I'm not married this year. I don't even have a girlfriend. If any of you have beautiful women from the same hometown, or beautiful relatives, that's fine too. You can introduce them to me. By the way, I have a wide range of hobbies. I like to play with things that are fun. You can often find me to play with." Ha ha ha, Yukai finished his self-introduction amidst a burst of laughter. His words were very interesting and won the favor of most of the students in the class. Next to the podium, Han Qingwu looked at Yukai, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. She gently raised her arm and flicked her folded fingers. Then, she said with a smile, "Why do I feel that you're not here to study at the university, but to go on a blind date? Don't tell me you're treating Shanghai University as a matchmaking agency." "Miss Han, how did you know?" Yukai deliberately showed a shocked expression. Ha ha ha, the students below burst into laughter again. However, Tan Xiu didn't laugh. He almost didn't pay much attention to Han Qingwu before, but he didn't know what happened today. Perhaps it was because of what Yukai and Hu Qingsong said that left something in his heart that made him pay more attention to Han Qingwu. However, it was precisely because of this attention that his expression suddenly changed when he saw Han Qingwu's folded fingers and her flicking action. Today's first chapter is here. There are 2 more chapters to go. Please guarantee the monthly support. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.